All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC 318, Holloway versus Poirier 3, taking a look at UFC on ABC, Whittaker versus DeRitter. And to do all of those things with me, as always, my good friend, my co-host, the Ohio player, and a man who is never going to retire, Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
Dude, we are actually living. Like, I'm actually loving the introduction you did. I want to give a big shout out to Beeb for even being here earlier. So I just wanted to give you a big shout out first and foremost. But yeah, everything about this weekend was good. And I'm excited. It's a good, like I said, good Monday. Saturday was good. So I'm really excited to talk about these fights for sure.
Absolutely. Same here. This was a fun one. And of course, you know, a mixed emotions one, I would say. Obviously, tugging at the heartstrings. The retirement of Dustin Poirier hit everybody a little bit differently, depending on when you started watching the sport and how you feel about Dustin as a fighter and all of those aspects. So, of course, we're going to get into all of that. If you are new to the show, we're going over each and every fight from this card. If you have anything that you want to talk about that's not pertaining to the fight at the moment, throw it into the chat. Remind us a little bit later in the stream. We'll come back to it and address it down the line. Getting into this thing here, I mean, did you want to talk about some of the other stuff outside of these events first, or do you want to get into it later?
No.
First?
Yes, right. I will bring up a few things.
Sure.
So over the weekend, Karate Combat had their first 2-day event. And it was maybe a smashing success. I don't know. I know Captain Longboat was there and they were doing the Crypto Bro thing. So it's whatever. Excuse me, the first day, which was Friday, they had an 8-man heavyweight tournament. And let me explain how this works. So you had heavyweights go up until the semifinals. In the middle of that, you had a title fight between arguably one of the best Karate Combat athletes that we've seen. And then we got the finale between the heavyweights. So the heavyweight started out with Robelis. He gets a 3rd round decision win. I didn't actually catch this one. Grateful I didn't, because the stigma, you know, he's still alive in my head, but the decision win was probably boring, I assume. The next people in that, in the quarterfinal, whatever it was, the opening round, they all got 1st round knockouts, and there was some pretty good talent, but you could clearly see like, oh, they're so tired already. Like, they've thrown it out the window in the first fight. Robelis comes in the 2nd round, smokes his opponent in the 1st round. He looked awful. He's not good. Broke his foot. So he was limping away, but it was very funny. I think it was the 1st round. Yeah, it should have been, because I remember thinking it was the opposite for him. But then the matchups between the good heavyweights that put on a good performance in the opening round, they got matched up. And the dude that I thought was going to be the guy to beat Robelis, he took, I think it was a pretty late finish maybe, or it might have been even a decision, but they wore each other out and they were so dead. Like, you knew either one of them was going to be dead after this. And that was when I wanted to crucially note, they gave Robelis the first fight so he could have the longest break, which was really funny, because then they have the fight in between. And then Robelis has been chilling for 30 minutes, getting his foot looked at, you know, all that stuff. Title fight in between it, between the champion from Chile. Very impressive. One of the best that I've seen, other than our Pakistani boy, of course. Very good. Apparently, the opponent was switched. I'm not sure if that's actually true. So if it was another janitor, he put up a good fight. I'll give him that.
Right.
Did lose, though. Did lose. 2nd day of Karate Combat, I did not catch. But I did catch that Alex Pejeda's sister is now the champ. She won after 5 rounds against her opponent. So she didn't knock her out like she does everybody else. It probably wasn't the greatest performance. Maybe I'll go back and watch that one, though. But I think that's to wrap up Karate Combat. Oh, well, sorry. And then the end of the Chile title fight was Robelis, and he did win the fight and broke both his hands, and it just wasn't that great. I also wanted to note specifically that the dude fighting in the finale of the title fight, of the heavyweight championship thing, he was tweeting after the fight like, man, I'm gonna make Dana, President Awesome, notice me. And I'm like, dude, you were just in the finale of his heavyweight opener promotion. If he don't know you by now, one, what is he doing? Two, he don't care. Like, he just don't give a shit. Like, that's really funny to know, I
Just
thought.
not checking his DMs. I mean,
Yeah, dude,
bro.
literally. I know. And then like he's watching him fight and he's like, man, this guy's who the fuck is, oh, that's him. Anyway, so really funny. Second day, obviously, the Shama sister won the belt. Then we had PFL. This
Yes.
was in Cape Town,
Cape
South
Town.
Africa.
Yeah, the first major international MMA event in South Africa, from what I understand.
That was really cool to hear from you just now, if that's the actual fact to it. I thought it was really, listen, and I'm just a hater. When I saw it pop up, I'm like, wow, it's really nice of PFL to put on a show in a warehouse in Africa. This was, and it was like a bootleg sphere too. Like they had one wall with the like the jumbotron things, but it was just like three kind of smaller screens. It was pretty funny.
They're trying. They're
I know
trying
they
out
tried.
there.
I know. But Decheva's the only thing that we really care about the PFL thing, and she took her opponent to a third round decision. And well, I will say, her opponent put up one of the greatest chins performances you'll ever see. Like, dude, Marvin Vittori has nothing on this chick. Like, she took so many kicks to the face, punches, knees to the stomach. Like, she was getting ate up. Decheva put on a great performance until she broke her left hand or something like that, and then she coasted until the bell. Wasn't the greatest performance, but she did end up winning. This wasn't a title fight, apparently. I don't know if you guys didn't know. This was a 3-round fight. Just Tacheva's gonna go
co-main
fight
event.
somebody. Yeah, she's gonna go fight somebody else for the belt now, which that's what I thought this was for. So yeah, she didn't put on that good of a performance. And what was the guy's name in the main event?
Johnny Eblin, yeah, that was the main event, the bigger news, I guess.
Right.
You know, Dakota Ditcheva winning a fight is not exactly news at this point. PFL is gearing up to, or has been, making sure that she is their big name, and she's certainly riding that into a new contract here. She signed a 6-fight deal with them now, so she's going to stick around in PFL for a good amount longer. But yeah, Johnny Eblin, he was fighting and beating his opponent solidly through 4.5 rounds, and then gets rear naked choked within like the last minute of the fight. So that was a bit of a crazy instance and a big upset there.
Yeah, that's a big upset. I think the biggest upset of it, and you actually touched on it first, like the Johnny Eblin thing, I don't even think anybody really cares too much, to be honest. Like, he says rematch, nobody's probably ever going to want that. But the Decheva thing, the biggest upset was her calling, or her getting on the mic and saying that she's extended her contract, or she's going to sign with the PFL for more years. And like that, genuinely, I mean, as somebody who finally realized that she's 26 years old or whatever, like, she could genuinely take over the UFC if she really wanted to, but she just wants to fight flare outs and people that are never going to be, the top of the competition, basically. And that's just
Well,
unfortunate.
yeah, no, I mean, I would think that she could follow the Kayla blueprint pretty closely. Go, continue to do what she's doing over there. She's probably making ridiculous money because she is one of the only big names. And actually, I know that Rick Allen is a bit of a meme in the chat, but I think it was him that brought it up recently that the PFL has not been doing next to anything with Francis at the moment. So she is currently the biggest star that they have if they're not utilizing Francis Ngannou. So really, I'd say it's really not a bad business move on her part to just go rack up a couple more bucks over there and then go over to the UFC at some point. She's still young, so she's got plenty of time to do it, and then actually see if she can go over and take the UFC by storm, because we've been seeing time and again now. We'll talk about one of them on this card, but he ended up getting a win, but we've seen plenty of times with PFL and Bellator formers coming over and not being able to replicate the success that they had in their previous homes in the UFC. So, I mean,
The most current examples are fucking ancient by the time they do, because they keep signing these dumbass contracts.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's because the circumstances were as they were with Bellator and PFL merging and all of that kind of stuff at the time. There probably was a little bit more money to go around in Bellator before, maybe, and then the circumstances are different now, so it is better for them to do it now. We're seeing a couple people with a little bit of success, like Renier de Ritter, who's fighting in the main event of the upcoming event. I mean, there are circumstances that could lead to better outcomes for them in the UFC, perhaps, but it's not a guarantee, is what I'm trying to say. So I think that my point in saying all of that is that savor the time that Dakota Ditcheva is running through her competition, because you just said she didn't even run through this last chick. I mean,
whooped her ass, but I mean, she just didn't. her, you
She
know?
just
I
didn't
mean,
finish. Yeah.
it was a definite dog walk. Yeah.
All right. Well, fair enough then. So, I mean, she's getting these fights where she's doing good work, not finishing that's a little bit concerning, but whatever. She's still dominantly performing. She could go over to the UFC, get paired up with a top 15 fighter, and it could be a lot different. And then all of the mystique just instantly vanishes. So I think riding out what is working for her right now is not necessarily the worst idea.
I genuinely haven't seen a clip of anybody saying, "I'm glad I stayed in Bellator for this long." You know, I don't know. I could be wrong. So you let me know.
Well, it's just the grass is always greener kind of situation. It's like, or the devil, I guess is a better way to say it. Like, you're in an organization that's catering to you essentially. They're giving you probably a lot more than you're going to get elsewhere. The only real reason to go to the UFC under those circumstances is to fight the best. If that's, if you're that type of athlete that wants to challenge themselves against the best in the world, that's where you go for that. But if you're just comfortable making a whole hell of a lot of money for a little while and, getting some easy layups, I don't know. That's a kind of, because it's the same thing I said about Kayla back during the tournament time when she was over in PFL. I was like, if she just wants to go and make $1 million every year, beating 3 or 4 fighters, I mean, that's her choice, I suppose, right?
Yeah, it is, but I mean, I guess it just really shows. I mean, you started with it. I mean, does she really? She's only gonna go if she really wants to face the top of the competition. And we know that there's a lot of people in the UFC that when we watch them, we won't consider them the top of like the top level of competition. But genuinely speaking, the lowest level of what we see in the UFC is better than what I saw on Saturday against her. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that's absolutely the case at this point. Most especially at this point, you might have had a little bit more of an argument back when PFL excuse me, when Bellator was like really pumping and trying very hard to like be a rival. But nowadays, I mean, PFL is just not graduating the same level of talent. It's just
I just feel bad because I personally know a really big Dakota Ditchova fan, and he was very upset that she signed or that she's going to sign with the PFL for more years. You know, this is somebody that has the star power of like a Patty, where if you get them on while the train is going, then you're good, and then they're in the UFC and they got a good momentum. But if you keep Dakota in the PFL and she fucking loses somehow, like, oh, brother, you are cooked. Yeah, you really fucked her up if she goes in there and loses in one of her little $500,000, fight. Like,
yeah,
then
but
we
that's
know
why
she's not anything.
and that's why they're going to continue to feed her whoever, just because they need a star. It's what I was saying a couple of shows back, maybe a couple months ago or whatever, where PFL needs to start growing their own talent. They took the gamble on Francis. You can kind of debate whether or not that was a good one at this point. He's off doing the boxing thing or whatever, I mean, like there's a lot of ins and outs with that, but they don't have the big names to bring people to the events. So they need something to latch
I'm
onto, and Dakota's what they're latching onto.
I'm really tired of this favoritism. I mean, this is some WWE level shit right here. You're telling me that the homegrown talent, and then that just means feeding her people that she's gonna beat. Like that's just crazy to me. Like that's the system that they have to go by. Like the UFC, we see a lot of iron and iron kind of matchups.
Of course, yeah. When you have the best in the world all together, you can do that. I mean, but they're trying to bring eyes to it. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's necessarily the right way to do it, but I mean, you have to bring the people in. You got to put asses in seats somehow, and that's what they got.
Genuinely think the matchmakers just don't know what they're doing over there. Like styles make fights. It's not like Dakota, they give her favorable matchups. So because she's able to style on them, I mean, it's that like we'll talk about fights later on in this UFC card where the skill gap is completely, there's a whole foot in between it, but somebody is just able to pull through with a little more grit. I mean, that's really what the sport is about. I think if the matchmakers were serious in the PFL, it's not that they don't have the competition level. It's the styles, and that's them refusing to put up somebody that can actually beat Dakota. I mean, if Dakota's somebody that styles on you on the feet, if they give her a fucking wrestler, I mean, we'll see what happens. Then that makes it fun. But they're just gonna give us somebody who's gonna get butchered on the feet, or she's gonna finish her in 30 fucking seconds. Like it's just kind of annoying, to be honest.
Well, but
And
they want
and
that
on
though.
top of it, it wasn't even a 5-round fight. If it would have been and she breaks her hand, now what? Now
Yeah,
what? She
true.
broke
That
it
could
in
have been
two. She
better.
broke it in round 2, and then she's about to get cooked.
Right,
So
but
we just
the point is that they want to have a dominant star, so it doesn't matter.
that's
They, they're okay with it being like whoever, and also they have to have the other talent on the other side as well. Like you don't know what the rest of the talent pool is like. If
see.
she's their best over there, what's the rest like?
It's crazy. Like they want a dominant star, but like it's a fluky thing. Like I mean, if that's really what it comes down to, if she's not getting faced up, like that's how you get the top stars. It's like they beat the top people. It's not because you give them easy matchups every time. I mean, if that's the way you want to view it, but like. I don't know, man. I think the PFL needs to get some matchmaking shit going because we need some more competitive. Not no minus 1,400 in every single co and main event. I know Johnny Eblin just lost, but he was smoking him for the first 4. So apparently, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you better hope that they can turn over some rocks and find some new talent. Then, I mean, they're in as much of a talent crunch as anybody else. This UFC is the preeminent organization, so they're going to get the best people naturally. They have to go the extra mile. That's why hopefully like things like PFL Mina and all this other little extra, there's regional tournament things that they're doing will yield some of that.
Listen, PFL is fucking lazy. They don't have the scouts and the matchmakers to do it. Like if you look every year, the UFC has 9 weeks of people that just walk in off the couch and are ready to fight. You're telling me the PFL can't go on Google and find out the average contract amount for the contender series guys and just get the scouts to go find them and say, hey, I will pay you $100 more than what you would get on the contender series for one fight here. I mean, it's not rocket science. I just thought of it on the fucking spot. Like if you take 6 boardroom people in a suit and they go, like it would be really nice, wouldn't it? But like, I just don't think they're really understanding that they could do those things. They don't. I know it's maybe unethical to go, but like bro, these are people on the fucking streets. Like you can go leverage them by saying you can come fight for us and we can make you a star if you win. If you go to the contender series, you're gonna win and then go get put up against a fucking 23-year-old Jesus chiseled guy. Like I don't know, it's just there are so many different routes I think they could take.
All right. Well, hopefully they will then. Everybody clip it and send it over to them. And, Chase has some ideas as to how they can fix their matchmaking, how they can get some new talent in. So, maybe
One
Chase is the new
contender
talent.
series guy could probably go run their league right now and do what Dakota does, but he could actually get the competition that you could throw at him like, all right, this guy could possibly beat him. And then he smokes him. I just don't get why there hasn't been a dude in the PFL and been like, man, I almost went to contender series, but I'm so happy I'm here. Like, something like give us one story where a dude is like, they found me and I chose them over the UFC because this was a better opportunity and it turned out well. Like that's why am I not hearing these stories? I don't know.
I would agree. Honestly, I do think that there's something to that they should be doing a better job of finding the talent. If it is out there, maybe not necessarily snaking it from the UFC, but like just being on the ground. But I think that that's been a problem with PFL in general is that they're not actually connected to this sport. They are business people trying to emulate an MMA promotion without actually being connected to it enough.
I mean, it's also not. I mean, you can make it even easier. You could look at the top stars in the UFC, go and see what camp he trains at. Send your scouts there and say, well, they train with him. I mean, we might as well sign a couple of them if they have a decent size for, if there's a heavyweight there or a flyweight there, we can just pick them up off the streets. Maybe there's something there. Like that's just the easy route. If you're literally fucking lazy and you don't know how to scout out competition and you're not going to these events to look for these people and you can't find your Rebellis to Spain and you can't find your fucking, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Dakota Decheva is just honestly wasting her fucking career there, but whatever.
All right. Well, let's put a pin in it for now. Just
because we got a better Dakota Decheva performance coming up, and I called that one. So we're gonna get into this card. What did you think?
For sure. Like I said, everybody, clip all of what Chase just said and send it over to PFL. We're gonna get Chase a job being the matchmaker. No, I thought that this card was very, very good. This is UFC 318, Holloway versus Poirier 3, which took place at the Smoothie King Center. Funny to say, Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. I thought that the card opened very well. I thought main card was a little bit weaker. I mean, there was times that were pretty good. There were a couple of less than spectacular fights on there, I would say, but overall it was a pretty good card. I gave it a 7 out of 10 personally.
Dude, this card, the prelims were really solid. I thought this
Early
started
prelims
out, yeah,
rocked,
I
man.
thought this was really good, and then the main card felt like a fever dream. Like, I literally thought I imagined most of it. Like, this is what I would imagine in a nightmare, like everything that happened here. So I can't wait to get into it because boy, was it something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? Let's do just that, and we'll talk it all through as we go here.
Before we start,
Sure.
everybody in the chat, you are amazing. Make sure to like and subscribe and give some more shouts out in the chat because TJF is awesome. B, Rick Allen, you guys are the best.
Yeah,
Appreciate
appreciate all you guys. Thank you very much, of course. All right, well, starting off the card proper here, Carly Giudice versus Nicole Cagliari. How about Carly Giudice?
Yeah, you know what sucks? I'm really high on a lot of people, but when it comes to certain matchups and I look at the value on the slip, I sound like I'm against Carly Judice, but genuinely I knew this is everything she's capable of. I mean, even her in her last performance, she's shown that she can be a butcher on the feet. And with a record at 4-2 coming into this fight, like she doesn't give you, like I even said, it's hard to put minus 300 tag on somebody who just hasn't seen that much pro experience. And I thought this was potentially the fight where she could see something in the grappling. Nicole Cagliari, with 3 wins previously coming off of submission, I thought this was going to be an open shut case. I thought this might be the one. But Carly Judice, like I said, the better Dakota Dacheva performance. This is the American Dacheva right here. I mean, she put on a masterclass for 3 rounds, and then I thought we were skating to decision. I thought we were good to go. And then, nope, of course, the fucking knee to the sternum puts her down. I actually think that it was a very good stoppage. She was protesting, but girl, you got shut down. So it was easy for
Yeah, perfect.
Judice, excuse me.
Yeah, for Giudice, yeah, perfectly placed knee, right to that liver. Shuts it down pretty instantly. I think that Cagliari was having some problems with her defense, and that is something that's going to be a big issue for her going forward. She keeps her guard so wide that she just kept getting popped right through it.
Mhm.
You pair that with Giudice, who is really sharp with her striking throughout this entire thing. That was a really bad combination for Nicole there. Giudice had some very solid striking. I mean, like that. It's really important to note in this fight, like how well she was executing her shots. Her shot selection was very good. Her combinations were really nice, and she was having Cagliari wearing the damage very early in this fight. Like by I think the second round, Cagliari's eye was already swollen shut, which not a good look. And then also not a good look is Cagliari dead bugging on her back twice in this fight. She's like kind of beckoning her into the guard
Yeah.
because she couldn't get her down. That was the other big problem, is that Cagliari was having no success in the takedown department despite multiple attempts. So you put all of those together, it was kind of a long night at the office for Cagliari, and there just seemed to be holes in the game that are exploitable by fighters like Giudice, fighters of that caliber, and that's going to just be a big problem for her going forward.
I mean, it's not really fighters like this and fighters of the caliber. I mean, Nicole Cagliari has basic boxing defensive deficiencies. Like she just gets destroyed by a simple jab and a straight, And Carly Judice, shout out to her. I mean, I was gonna say recency bias, yes, but the two most promising strikers, and well, Fatima is one of them, yes, but she's got a lot more in the grappling department that we've seen. If Carly Judice somehow has I know she has a great takedown defense. That's what I wanted to note actually, is at the beginning of the fight, I said, if she has takedown defense and she's as good as we thought, not getting taken down, we're going to have a problem on our hands. And she did exactly that. And she popped her up for 3 rounds and then finished her. So these are two girls, her and Fatima, that I would think you have to really look out for. Thankfully, they're in 2 different divisions, so we don't have to watch them match up. So I'm okay with it. I like it.
Yeah, and it's a nice story, I'd say, with Giudice here, because coming into this fight at 4-2, yeah, we talk about how when the losses start to creep up, you got something to worry about there. So I was a little worried for her in that regard, even though I don't think that her losses were really that bad, if I recall right. I mean, I think one was,
Split to Ernesta Kadetsuke.
yeah. So I mean, and then one before the organization. So it's like, you still just don't want that as your record. You don't want your losses to be anywhere near the halfway point to your wins. But I think in this case, it was not telling the full story of what Giudice is capable of, and you're seeing now what she is capable of. So
Yeah.
this is gonna, if she can go on a nice run, get those wins up a little bit more, make the record stand out a little bit better, get those losses a little bit less prominent on the record. It's going to be nothing but good things going forward for her if she can keep this pace up as well. She is now the first woman in UFC history to win by kick and by knee. Do you believe that?
Yes, 100% believe that. Listen, the sport is so new still that people can set records very easily, not easily per se. It's not an easy performance to do, but like to get two finishes in a row, that could be a record if you do it the right way. And shout out to Carly Judice. I always credit Josh Van for making history every time he steps in there. If Carly Judice can be someone just like that, I'm excited. She's very, very crafty, and I like this girl a lot.
Yeah, after a performance like that, I'm certainly coming around myself. As far as Cagliari goes, when it comes to the women, they generally give them a little bit more leeway. So I don't know if she's necessarily going to get cut yet, but she
Back to
is.
Contender Series you go.
Yeah, right. I mean, she might have to do another round perhaps, but we're literally just talking about how you don't want the losses to be anywhere near the halfway point of the wins. She is now 8-4. That is exactly the halfway point, and two losses now in the organization, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So,
B makes a really good point. Two finishes in the UFC at the age of 26. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that right now. That's as promising as they get for women.
yeah.
And Fatima's actually in the same boat there, but it is what it is. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll see if Cagliari can make some kind of a turnaround at some point. But as of right now, it was the Carly Judice show, and good show. I enjoyed
yeah,
it.
100%.
Speaking of good shows here, though, next fight up was Bruno Ferreira versus Jackson McVeigh. Of course, McVeigh, the newcomer whose opponent missed weight by a ton, almost literally by a ton in the previously scheduled fight. That person was cut. This is the rescheduled Jackson McVeigh. They put him up against Bruno Ferreira because apparently they don't like this Jackson McVeigh guy. I don't know why, but this was a very, very impressive armbar finish by Ferreira.
Yeah, this really sucked for me because, well, I mean, not really. I mean, I had Bruno by finish. I knew he was going to go in here and finish him. There was no way this dude on short notice was going to get through Bruno. Jackson McVeigh, one thing I will note, he's fucking tall. He's as tall as they come for any division that you get. And Bruno, uh, thinking that the knockout was going to be the way he did it, I'm like, okay, he proved that he could get a submission. There's no reason for him to go back to it unless he really needs to. He should come out here and throw big old meaty slugs and knock him out. Jackson McVeigh did not get hit by a lot of strikes. And then when the grappling came, Bruno subbed him. I mean, that was basically all that she wrote. There wasn't really much to this one. It was a quick, great performance by Bruno, and finish was live, and I loved it.
Yeah, I mean Bruno did hurt him pretty badly with an inside leg kick to the back of
True,
the
you're
knee.
right. Yeah.
That was a decent shot that kind of stumbled McVeigh a little bit. He had he was like overly calm. It looked like to me like when usually with a newcomer like that you'd see like a lot of jitters. He was like standing right dead center like let's go. Which I was like okay this guy might might be something with a stance like that. But, I think that after that, the mistakes started adding up pretty quickly for McVeigh. And that's when things got into a little bit of hot water.
I have a really good question before we go further because
Yes.
B brought up a great point. Jesus was finished by an armbar. Would it have been wrong if he was in the crucifix and got finished?
It certainly would have been appropriate.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
McVeigh with the long flowing locks. That is true.
Yeah.
Had them braided up, of course.
One of
But
two Jesus characters on this card, actually.
indeed, yeah, yeah. The luscious locks were on display for at least in the tail of the tape pictures and stuff like
Yes.
that. But no, yeah, the like I said, the mistakes for McVeigh were I think the big decision or the where the divide was what made the decision because Jackson gets on Bruno's back, then he sort of awkwardly rolls with him, but like holding on to him. So Bruno ends up on top of McVeigh, but still having his back held. So it was an odd situation there. Bruno ends up reversing that, gets up, then McVeigh is on his back. He's trying to backpack him, but he's way too high. He ends up getting slammed, and then the arm bar was like this really slick move. That I think is the really all you need to know about this performance was how nice the armbar was, because Bruno had to slide his body across the top of McVeigh to actually get the position where he wanted it. But once he did that, it was locked in really, really nicely, and the tap was very quick thereafter. So I thought this was a very impressive maneuvering to be able to pull this off from the position he was in, because it was almost belly down. It wasn't like full belly down, but it was like close enough to it that a little bit unconventional.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of strikers coming out here and getting multiple submissions in a row. It's really starting to hurt my ego. Surely he cannot get a third in a row. I mean, we got to play this game every time. Bruno Fajeda, you got to get a knockout next time, dude, please. But yeah, no, this was a great performance by Bruno. I really do like this dude. I feel like he's a little underrated. For like, nobody would ever mention him in a conversation. He's really short for the division, but he is a finisher. He only has 2 losses. And yes, he did lose to Abus, but Abus only lost to Sean Strickland, and everybody loses to Sean Strickland and has a bounce back, apparently. So if you do the math there, Bruno is on his way to something good. I think it's really good.
Yeah, maintains 100% finish rate. So
He might as well be fucking Ilya with subs right now. God damn it.
There you go. Perhaps. I mean, granted, he is doing that against Jackson McVeigh, who is, coming in off of the street. But if he can replicate that a little bit higher up, then, like this could be a great example of a guy who gets a couple of losses, gets him out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, yeah, you're feeling it out. A couple of losses here and there, you end up on a nice streak thereafter. We've seen plenty of guys bounce back from a couple of losses. So yeah, Fajeda could be a good person to keep your eyes on. And, whether or not it's a sub or a knockout, whatever, by finish, like I said, 100% finish rate so far. So
yeah, he's the man. For real.
right now he is definitely the man. I appreciated that, and like I said, I cannot say enough good things about the fight IQ it took to make that armbar happen effectively like it did, because when you're not on the right side, you get to the right side across the top of the body. Something to be aware of, that he has the ability to do those kinds of things.
100%. Yeah, no doubt. This was a great one.
Yeah, really, really nice. Ryan Spann versus Lucas Dresky. Of course, this is at heavyweight. Thought Spann looked pretty good for his second outing at heavyweight against one of the worst at heavyweights, or the worst at heavyweight, and that's certainly saying something. Lucas Dresky, I think that it is time for this guy to go.
Yeah, I knew this one was going to be a finish as well. It honestly does make you worry. You have 2 finishes in a row, and then you're like, okay, surely you gotta have a decision. We just gotta play the odds here. But no, I had Ryan Spann finishing this one. And yeah, it did worry me with those odds coming at me. But Lucas Dresky is just so awful at everything he does in the cage that Ryan Spann was able to just easily manhandle him. And he actually made him look really funny in this. Like, it was a really goofy performance from Dresky. And then to get choked out and tapped like chicken, it was icing on the cake,
Yeah, I mean, Dresky is he was lacking. You know what I mean? Like, that's the
that's
note
just
that I had.
him. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
like
he's not missing anything. That's just him.
I really do stand by what I said on last week's show, that him off the gear it's just a different world for him. And I hate to say that, because it's like, you want to believe that, like, the skills, you want to believe that the juice is enhancing what's already there, right? Like, that's at least I think what a lot of fighters would want you to believe. It's like, yeah, no, I'm a great fighter. The juice was just to get me that much little bit better, like that little bit of competitive edge. With Lucas Dresky, I think that really was like what he was leaning on, was just the extra help from the juice. Him off the juice is a completely different type of fighter. And then going up against Ryan Spann, who is look, does he have losses? Yeah, he's got a good amount of losses, but the dude is seasoned. And that is something that I think sets him apart, especially now another guy coming from light heavyweight to heavyweight. He's seen a lot over his time. And like, this was a good example, what I always talk about starting fast and early, getting to it early. This was a great fast start for Spann. Nice early takedown, got the head and arm attempt, ground and pound, full mount. I mean, he was just doing what he wanted to do because he got to it quickly, and he's fighting a guy like Dresky who's not going to give him much back. Perfect situation. So second head and arm, doesn't get that either. Dresky stands up into Spann's guillotine, and that does the trick. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a quick one. It was a fun one, but Ryan Spann did exactly what he needed to do and disposed of Dresky. Going forward, I'm just hoping that Ryan Spann is going to keep being the finish or be finished kind of guy. He's been screwed over by the judges before, so I knew this one was definitely not going to go to that. And I'm just real happy with this performance. I really like this.
Yeah, same here. Like I said, I do think that Dresky's time is numbered. It should be pretty
It's
short.
Monday. We would have seen it by now, sadly.
I mean, if they're going to give him one more, then it's got to be after that. There's no way they can keep this guy around just to be a punching bag, even at heavyweight that needs more people. Like, this is not it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice for the highlights for the other guy, but the fights are not at all competitive. So like, he's not being utilized in any way that's really even getting that. Cause I mean, this was like, I don't know if you're necessarily going to see this on Ryan Spann's highlight reel. Maybe you might, I don't know. But either
Yeah.
which way, yeah, I would say cut him personally if they want to keep him around, whatever. But I did want to note that Ryan Spann seemed very rattled in his Octagon interview. Did you happen to catch the Octagon interview of this one?
No, the only thing that I know before the fight is that he says he does not train anymore. He just
Oh,
walks in.
interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if if he was worried about getting cut or if there's something else going on in his life, but he seemed the emotion seemed very amplified. Like, I thought it was, I wanted to laugh at it at first, but then after seeing the rest of it, I was kind of like, there might be something else going on here, because when DC started the interview, he's like, Ryan Spann, guy, nice way. And then he just takes the mic and goes, hallelujah. And I was just like, whoa, okay. All right. That was one thing. And then he's just like, yeah, no, man, I just want to go home. And I was just like, whoa, okay, all right. They're just. I just say that to say that I hope everything's all right with Ryan Spann, because he, great win and all that was very good, but he seemed to be just a little bit off in the interview, and sometimes that might be an indicator of something else.
The only thing that I noticed after the fight is that the only thing he was worried about, and the ref even had to go track him down and like pull him with his arm. He went to his corner to give them his mouthpiece so he could put in his grill.
Very important. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just standard operating procedure. I would say, like, nothing wrong there.
Yep. Okay. I just wanted to make everybody known that he made sure that his grill was in there before they announced his name. So
yeah, rob the jewelry store, tell him make me your grill.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, just hope that he's all right is all I'm saying. But obviously a great win, goes home to his family, all good. If he's not training anymore, that's a little concerning, I would say. But we're just gonna have to see what they end up doing.
Maybe that's part and do with what you're talking about. Maybe he's just been in a little rut, and
It
I don't
could
want to
be.
say it like that, but
I don't know. I'm more asking than saying anything. You know what I mean? Just because I'm just responding to what I saw, and I just hope everything's okay with him. But
no, I agree with that
yeah.
sentiment.
So yeah, that's a good win for him there against a bit of a bum, unfortunately. So get Dresky out of there. That's the end note for me.
Shout out Superman Spann.
Hell yeah, absolutely. All right, moving forward here, yet another with so many finishes coming into this early prelims were really nothing but finishes. Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. Excuse me, Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. I'd forgotten that Jimmy had retired, quote unquote, after his last fight. So this was nice to see him come back and return with a win here. But yeah, no, I know, because it's one of those things. I'm really sick and tired of people doing the whole retirement just to come back thing. Like, just say you're taking a sabbatical or time off or something. Like,
right.
Don't go through the whole thing of like, yeah, man, no, I'm laying down the gloves. I don't even know if he laid the gloves down or if he just said that he was going to take some time, but whatever. He said he was going to retire for a little while. Very short retirement. He's back, ends up with a nice win here.
Yeah, it was a nice win. Again, going with the law of averages, I came into this fight saying we have 3 favorites that have won, so I think the dog money should go on Prachnio because he might get it done. And he started out doing well, and I thought this was going to be oh crap, Jimmy Crute, no way you sold like this. But then no, they got into the grappling sequence. Jimmy Crute got him down, and quick as the other ones finished him. I mean, it's a late first round finish, guys. But you got to understand, like, there was not many sequences up until the finish. Like, there's moments that really are the things that stand out. And I can't say in the 4 minutes that there was too much going on, but there was a sequence that finished it, and that's about all I can tell you.
Well, really, the only major sequence aside from a little bit of striking was the Jimmy Crute wrestling showcase on this one. I mean, he was wrestle here, wrestle there, get the arm bar late in the round, and really, I think that the big note to take away from it was Jimmy Crute, once he had that arm, if he didn't get the position for the first time, he was able to move it to the other place. He was cranking one way, cranking the other way. It's like, I respect that. He didn't let it go when he had something that was dead to rights.
Yeah, I actually would like to say the camera crew failed on this point because, yeah, you're right. He did him have in the arm, had him in the armbar, and he was almost out of it. And then he kept twerking it, and then he kept switching the position and kept rolling over. And finally, he was able to lay on it and get it down. The UFC, the people in the broadcast room, they screwed us over by not keeping the angle on the elbow long enough. They switched it away before he tapped. And I'm the type of person that needs to look away if the elbow's bending like that. But like, yo, you should have fucking shown that shit snap. You do anything else? Like, what are you talking about? Like, if you got the camera pointed right at it and you switch away before the tap to a different point of view, I'll be super upset. And I was, and I thought the people at home who really enjoy this type of stuff, they should have been able to see him screaming in pain that my arm is about to break. I'm just saying.
Fair. I mean, and where's our ref cam? Weren't we, we were doing all this stuff with ref cam for a little minute, trying to make that a thing. And then all of a sudden we see it here and there very sparingly, it seems like.
That one dude, I forget his name, but he's going to live on in infamy as the one time somebody got finished and they used the ref cam, Billy Goff.
Yes.
And that's just terrible to see, man. They should have brought that one back. I agree.
Yeah. Shout out to Muzz checking in. Appreciate you, brother. All right. Well, I mean, that's really all I had to say about this fight. I mean, Jimmy Crute, good to see him come back. Good to see him get a win. It was quick and easy.
Yeah, I agree. It was quick and easy, and that's just unfortunate. I mean, listen, guys, these were great performances by these people. They did it in such a fashion that you can't say too much, but you can still admire that they put on a hell of a performance to win this one, especially with this one. That armbar submission was very, very hard to get. The one with Bruno was a little easier because he didn't have to go rolling through and keep holding and switching the position. Like, I'm surprised Pacquiao didn't get out of this one. That's how much he was fighting through it. He even got his legs involved at a point, but Jimmy Crute was able to showcase some really good grappling. Just note, this was high level here.
Oh yeah, I mean, really, that should be a note for a lot of the ones that we go through quickly. Is if we're able to go through the breakdown of it quickly, then that means that the person that won did their job.
Yeah, 100% know that. And I do often like to say that if you want to make a fan of me, you got to finish. Jimmy Crute, it sucks that I'm gonna still be on the fence about this one because you got a draw in your last fight. I'm pretty sure, my man. Like,
he's Mr. Draw. I mean, like, yeah. He's one of the few people I can think of off the top of my head who has multiple draws.
Yeah. So this one, sorry, Jimmy Crute. We're net positive here, but we're just not. We're not there yet.
Do it against the higher levels. That's all you have to do. I mean, like, and that's the problem with kind of the trajectory of Crute's career so far has been that once he gets up into a little bit, we're not even talking about like the higher numbered area of the division. We're talking about just higher mid. He ends up having these kinds of problems. So yeah, a good win over Marcin Pacquiao, certainly fine. Do that against the people who are higher, then, you get all of your flowers as opposed to the caveats.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's keep it moving here then. This is the last of the early prelims. This is Adam Fugit versus the newcomer Islam Dulatov. Dulatov, the male model, 26 years old, just bought his second Lamborghini. God, I want to hate this guy. Chase, you're around 26 years old. How's your Lamborghini?
Yeah, I know, right? The first one is okay. The second one is still shiny. I don't drive that one as much.
How could you can't drive them both at the same time, right?
Exactly. So Islam Dulatov came into this fight, and I had been on the hype train. Like, this is the guy that I'm accepting that I think could be the guy. I've seen nothing about him, but the hype, I'll go ahead and believe it because there's something about him. He does have fucking aura.
Well, you saw him on Contenders though, right?
Oh yeah. He killed that guy, of course. But in the UFC standing.
Sure.
Coming into this fight, I mean, you can instantly notice this guy is menacing. He is intimidating as hell. The jaw is mog full. Like, that's all I'm saying, dude. He comes in here and he gives you, like, I even said, like, holy shit, this dude, like, when you're watching him, it's like you're watching a mythical being. Like, he has the Alex Bejeda kind of vibes to him. I'm telling you, like, when he was in there, I was like, dude, I'm waiting for him to kill this guy. Like, he's either going to rip his head off his spine or he's going to just throw him in the dirt. And he actually, I don't even remember how the finish happened, but I just know he did it and I was fucking hyped. Like, that's just fucking all I need to know. So
I mean, it was just check left is what did it. But I mean, I got to give a little bit of credit to Fugit here for leaning on his wrestling, knowing that the power in Dulatov's hands was something that he should be concerned about. I don't know if it was just off of watching tape or maybe it was because he got touched a couple of times early, but he just couldn't secure the takedown. So there was nothing doing there. And you get to that point where it's like you've got a killer with hands who is stuffing your takedowns. Apparently, this dude, his parents, or at least his dad, I guess, is like a sambo champion. So he comes from a combat sports family, and that obviously rubbed off a little bit on him there. So it's like he's got the sambo in his back pocket to make sure that the takedown defense is there. He's got the hands to do whatever he needs to do on the feet. That's a deadly combo. And towards the end of the round, Dulatov starts getting a little anxious. I want to say that was when he kind of overleaned. He slipped throwing a punch from like a little bit too far away. You could tell that he was ready to ramp the action up at that point. So this, for his first performance in the UFC, I think there was a little bit of a feel out, needed to settle in just a little bit more. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on this guy in his next fight, because if that was the jitters performance, if that was the getting your sea legs kind of deal, then this dude might be really dangerous.
Yeah, I remember when I was rewatching Carlos Praetus on a lot of his early fights. The first fight in the UFC, he was very timid to like actually engage for a lot of it, and then when he did, he literally starched him, and I was like, "Holy shit, just do that earlier!" And then from on then, he just started to do it earlier, and that's exactly what he did. Islam Dulatov, I'm not telling you to do it earlier because this was a great performance, but feel more comfortable, dude. You're at home. Like you said, fuck the runway. We are getting in the cage. This is what I want to do. I want to be a fucking fighter. And I appreciate that. We need more people like this. It's not even just the fact that what he did and he came over to the sport. It's like be more vocal that this is what you want to do as your career. When we get the perception that all these fighters hate their fucking lives and they don't get paid shit and they just go in there and get their ass whooped and sent home and Dana just has to give him a ring later on, like it doesn't really give us good insight. But like this is a dude that has like character,
Sure.
you have a story to him and you can get behind where he was and what he is now. But like people later on that we'll talk about, like they're just people that fight. Adam Fugit, like he's just a random guy kind of deal, no character. He's just a guy that gets knocked out by the debut guy. So
Yeah, well, I mean, there's I guess it's funny that you say that, because they were talking about how he has a modeling job. I guess today, actually, they were saying that he's fighting on Saturday, had a modeling job on Monday. They were talking about if he was going to be touched up, how that was going to affect his modeling. But obviously, no damage to the face. So talk about confidence
I
and not
was
taking
yeah
damage.
I was gonna say that's next level confidence. I mean, Ilya celebrates the fights the night before, but Islam is a real businessman. He's like, fuck, I got jobs. Like I'm not gonna take any damage. Of course, put me on Vogue. I'll be there Tuesday. So
Yeah,
shout out to
yeah,
him.
pretty much it. And apparently there's also Abus Dulatov as well. He's one of 6 brothers, I think they said,
Mhm.
which is wild, but I don't know if all of them fight, but at least one other one does. So keep an eye out for another Dulatov, perhaps, and we'll have to see which one's the better one.
Interesting enough that his name is Abus Dulatov. I forgot to make note that Abus was in his corner for this fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't.
Abus Magomedov, excuse me, not his
Sure.
brother.
Well,
Sorry, I
and
didn't.
actually, I guess that is a good point. He did say, "Shout out to my brother Abus, who's a great fighter." I would assume that he was talking about his own brother and not Abus Magomedov, who is also from
I
Germany. And
I got it as Abus Magomedov behind him. I didn't know that the brother was also named Abus. So
well, that's
maybe
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm
okay.
mistaken in that part of it. But he did say that his brother is also a fighter. So
Yes.
there, whether or not it is a Booth Dulatov or another Dulatov with a different name, either way, there is another brother that could be fighting in the
Yes.
UFC at some point.
Yeah, 100%. But no, this dude's a Chad, and I actually would really like to see him take a fight very, very soon. I mean, if he comes out here and takes a fight on one of the bigger cards coming up in, what's it, July, end of July, he goes September or October kind of deal. He makes something happen there. Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. Give
Yeah.
him Manuel Torres. No, that's lightweight. Sorry. They're just built the same. Either way, continue.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly no reason that he shouldn't be active after a performance like that. Welterweight is a hot division. There's a lot of competition there for a guy who's a power striker with sambo as well. I mean, he's well-rounded enough on paper. Give this guy a good competition in his next fight. I mean, you can get it. There are certain people that like hot shotting makes a little bit more sense for. Like, I'm not saying that you need to shoot this guy up into the ranks just yet, but like, comes out here and puts on a performance like that. It reminds me a little bit of like Malcolm Wellmaker. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you start seeing some knockouts out of these guys. Like, yeah, give them what they deserve. Move them up.
Hell yeah, I agree.
Yeah, right on. Shout out to Didgeridoo Dave checking in as well, by the way. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you on the watch along as well, always. Moving into the regular prelims, this was perhaps one of the most ridiculous performances I have ever seen in my life. I've been waiting all night to talk about this fight. This is Teba Gautier versus Robert Valentin. We both talked on the previous episode of this show about how big fans we are of Robert Valentin. And as a fan, I have to say, this might have been the dumbest performance I have ever seen in my entire time watching MMA. This was so laughably bad on Robert's part. And I hate to have to say that as a fan, but it is what it is when you do what he did.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I think, I don't even want to talk about how goofy it was, because it was goofy, and Robert Valentin got finished in the first, 2 minutes of the fight, first minute, whatever it was. Very goofy performance, waved on the punches, 8 more punches, got put on the ground, got finished. The craziest part about this is Ataba Gutierrez and his age. He's 23 years old, guys. That's 2 years younger than me, and he is built like a fucking Mack truck. Now, we used to talk about people, and we still should, Raul Rosas, like when he's a teenager out wrestling grown men in this sport, that is something that's telling. 23 years old is still very, very young. I mean, he's not far off from Josh Van, but if he continues to be able to make the weight, I would like to make a point, because this is going to go into the co-main event later. When you're built like this, you're unfortunately always going to have the question of the cardio. It's never going to be an easy cut. You're always going to be just stocky and full of muscle, and that's just not the best base for cardio. It's just not what the science has proven with the sport that we've seen. So even if you come out here and you keep finishing people, even if you do get to some lengthy performances, the gas tank is always going to be in the back of my mind for him. But it don't fucking matter. At 23 years old, keep going to finish people. I think he's going to have his better chances right now when he's young, because his youth and adrenaline will just carry him through a lot of shit. So just go for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, steamroll as far as you can
Yeah.
with what you're doing for sure. But I mean, really, the unfortunate aspect of this fight, aside from Valentin's conducting of himself in it, is the fact that we have not seen him significantly tested when it comes to the wrestling and the grappling. Gautier, I'm talking about, of course.
Yeah.
We need to see what it's going to be like with somebody who is going to give him a legitimate challenge in that department. And we have not seen that yet. So that's the only thing that could be going against him, is if he goes up against somebody who's just going to immediately rush him, take him down, and give him, a problem on the ground. And then, of course, that goes into your point about the cardio. We're going to have to see how he responds to that. We are not seeing that yet. What we are seeing from him currently is him going in there and not only putting on just crazy power shots, but shout out to Paul Felder, because you had asked me last week, a question about like the commentary that I like and don't like. Yeah, Felder is one of my favorites, I would say, because Paul Felder he's like Dominic Cruz without the attitude. He's got all of the fight IQ skills. He knows the sport inside and out, gives you great analysis without the
sass.
The sass, exactly. But so Felder was 100% correct on this. Gautier was not reckless in his striking. He wasn't taking crazy chances or pulling off any flashy moves. He was finding the right shots with the right power and placing them in the right locations over and around the guard. And that is, like, as far as striking goes, that's exactly what you want, especially when you are a power striker. Because there's a lot of guys, I mean, he's fighting at middleweight, but we can equate it to like heavyweight, where it's just dudes winging heavy, meaty hooks, that kind of thing. It's like, that's not always going to be as accurate and as effective, because the technique isn't there. This dude Gautier has the power and the technique. So, I mean, right now, like I said, steamroll as far as you can with it. And we're just going to have to see what happens when a wrestler comes up against him.
Yeah, at this point, like you said, it's really just steamroll the competition. We got to see what the weakness is. So just throw him up against different styles. Robert Valentin is somebody who was interesting style. I mean, he finished him in the first round. We didn't get to see the style, the matchup that was supposed to be made here between Valentin when it came to the grappling and what he was able to do, if he was able to eat the shots. But just keep giving Gutierrez different opponents. And if he steamrolls, absolutely gorgeous. And if he finally gets tested, that's what we're waiting to see. We're waiting to see how he responds to the adversity. So I'm excited to see it, actually.
Same. Yeah. I mean, the only other note was where was the level change for Rob Zilla? I mean, I can't let this slide. Like, we have to talk about this misplaced, ludicrously misplaced confidence in Robert Valentin in this fight. Like, what was this? What
Mhm.
was this performance? Like, I mean, Rob is generally, he's kind of a character in his own way. He's like a sort of got that Yuri sort of internal mysticism, I want to say, is like kind of the way I would describe it. Like, he's very cerebral, I would say. Those kinds of things I would have thought would lead to a more uh, an accurate assessment of your opponent, like sizing them up from a deeper place. I want to say this was him coming in with this, like, almost a chip on his shoulder, but against this guy, you picked the wrong one for that.
Yeah. No, it was definitely embarrassing. It was hurtful to see that he just wanted to go out on his shield. I mean, he just realized it was not the move to take this fight, I guess. That was what I saw. He got hit and he was kind of backing up against the cage after a couple different shots. And then he really just had to make a choice. Do I really want to do this for 3 more rounds potentially? So it is what it is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that really is it, because he, like, after getting touched like 2 or 3 times, because you're exactly right. It was like an early, not flurry, kind of has a different connotation, but it was a couple of well placed shots that definitely affected him.
Yeah.
He back to the cage. He's in that moment, like internally, like, what am I going to do? Do I try for the level change, or do I, just get, I guess, get out of here a little early? Perhaps. I mean, I hate to say that because it does sound like,
No,
easy
he
way
looked
out.
mad at the loss. He didn't look like he was like in there for the money kind of deal.
Yeah, no. So it just, I really, I'm having trouble understanding what was going on with Valentin, like why he thought that this was the right way to do this.
Yeah, and it sucks too, is because we know he's not the type of dude to go in there and ask for a big old check. Like he just wants to enjoy the fight game. He just wants an opponent. He's gonna go home to and see his neighbor tomorrow kind of deal. So I think it's unfortunate that he came in here and lost like this, but I, sometimes you just gotta make an executive decision and we'll get on to the next fight. Hopefully we'll get it.
I guess. I hope that he does. I mean, I hope that they're going to keep him around, because this is now a couple of losses. Now he's lost to a grapple heavy guy and a strike heavy guy.
Hmm.
I mean, that's not looking great on the resume. And then you pair that with just poor decision making inside of the cage. That's a fight IQ thing. And I thought that he was more of, like I said, the cerebral aspect of him is why this is confusing to me. He's not a cocky guy in general. As far as we've seen him on The Ultimate Fighter,
Yeah.
we saw an entire season of him on The Ultimate Fighter. Like, he's a dude who wants to help other fighters. He takes fighting seriously. Like, it was baffling, is, I guess,
Yeah.
the way to put it. So anyway, I won't keep harping on it, but it's just, I think it bears repeating that this was, it was just like, it would have been laughable if I didn't like Robert Valentin so much, but I
Right.
do. So it's just like confusing.
Yeah, no, this one was it was hard. I tell you, I'm with you. It was
Yeah.
a sucky one to watch.
Well, speaking of sucky ones to watch, let's move on to the next one here. Francisco Prado versus Nikolai Veretennikov. Man, we have to now watch more Veretennikov fights, and that really makes me sad. DC said Prado's making mistakes in the second round. That was his note, and I think that is the theme of this fight. Mistakes on both sides, but Prado's mistakes ended up costing him the fight.
Prado is unfortunately not very good. For a 23-year-old, I think it was also, he's very young. Did not show any upside. Didn't show me that, like, oh, with a few tweaks, like he's got it. Like he lost to arguably, he made Veretennikov look very good in the first round, and that's impressive. Veretennikov actually worked the body very early. I was thinking Prado was going to go down. I mean, that's a very veteran move to work the body and get him hurt early. And Prado thankfully was able to weather that storm. Took him down 3 times apparently. There was a lot of wrestling in the later rounds of this. I remember DC specifically saying that Veretennikov he still thinks a title run is possible. I would like him to do me a favor, look in the mirror and look at the color of your goatee, and then we'll talk about a title run in another life, because you're just not doing it in this one, brother. Veretennikov, you're too old. The skills are not there. You do too many spin kicks that are never hitting your opponent. And yeah, this one was just hard. Listen, this whole card had some ones that were really hard to watch, and this one hurt because Argentini and Drew Dober just did not have what Drew Dober has, and that's what sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought that Prado did the right thing at first, at the very first, getting Veretennikov to the ground. Obviously, we've seen Veretennikov have a lot of problems with grappling. He has very, very limited skills on the ground. So going for the armbar, not a bad idea. You get him
Oh
down.
yeah,
Turns out to be an unfortunate idea after that, because he ended up getting slammed on the side of his head. Half the time, the slam goes terribly for the slammer. The other half, it goes terribly for the slam E, because you can slam yourself deeper into the armbar. This time, it was Prado who ended up getting the raw deal. So I don't even really take too much away from him with that. You are always going to be at risk of getting slammed in an armbar from that position. When you go to armbar a standing opponent, there's always going to be the chance that is how it goes. So it's a 50-50 gamble. Unfortunately, he was on the wrong side of it. He was lucky he didn't get knocked out with the slam. Definitely lost the round trying to get himself back into the fight thereafter. So round one, understandable why that went that way. The bigger problem was Prado trying to stay on his feet going into round two. He didn't initiate the takedown until halfway through the round, but when he did, it was a pretty cool suplex, so that's cool, but it wasn't a full-on suplex that actually damaged Veretennikov. It was more a positional changing suplex. So, Third round, Veretennikov was gassed. Prado gets full mount. This really should have been it. That should have been the time where Prado mustered all of his strength to get the ground and pound going effectively, but he didn't do that. So fuck. Then so many shitty spinning attacks from Veretennikov. 2-1 Veretennikov is probably the right call. Both guys made a bunch of dumb mistakes and didn't capitalize on big openings. Now we have to see more Veretennikov fights, so we all lose. End of story. I'm just there's so much annoying shit with this, but that's the gist of it, and wanted to speed run that and get it out of the way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's not too much more to say. I was really hoping that they'd somehow give it to Prado because he's young and they want to build an upcoming prospect out of him. But Veretennikov winning this fight, was unfortunate. He actually showed a lot of sportsmanship in this fight compared to his last one where he got mad that Austin Vanderford fucking finished him. But
we got the win.
Yeah, true. I mean, I guess that is how you get in a better mood. But it was a split decision win against somebody who's not very good. This was a why are you on the pay-per-view performance? Well, yeah, I mean, that's all that I can say. Why were you here? That's pretty crazy.
On both sides, really. But yeah, it was funny because it was, like you said, split decision. They're doing the split screen. It's a tense moment. Who's going to win the fight kind of thing. They read the decision and the crowd could not give a fuck less. It was so quiet in there.
Yep. And Veretennikov celebrating with his team like he's just won the fucking championship. Like, dude, you just beat a bum. Like,
reminds me of that meme with the dude with the champagne at the top of the podium, and then it's the podium with all the other people ahead of him, kind of thing, whatever. But anyway, Veretennikov, there's this should not give you any better impression. We talk about that a lot recently with fighters who are getting fights where they win, but it shouldn't mean that you put more faith into them. So if there's any takeaway from this, Nikolai Veretennikov, if he goes up against anybody who has even any slight wrestling, grappling ability beyond what Francisco Prado had, you're probably going to be wisely betting against him on that. If you get him to the ground and keep him on the ground, he has nothing doing. Prado just was not able to make that happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it sucks that this fight was boring because the card was very good up until right now. This is where the next one we'll talk about is very good. But this one was the first dip in the excitement.
It wasn't even, to me, wasn't that it was boring. It was just that it was
two idiots.
I'd say it was sloppy. It was a slop fest on both sides. And then it's unfortunate because if Prado was just a little bit better, then Veretennikov is the exact kind of guy that you can make a name off of. Vanderford proved that coming in on short notice, getting a really nice submission win.
Yes.
This is a dude who you can easily get a highlight out of if you conduct yourself properly. Francisco Prado is just obviously not that guy to do that.
I 100% agree. Unfortunately, he's not. But fortunately, we know early enough in his career that we've seen at 23, he's just not the one. Maybe at 28, after a few more, he's able to build some sort of momentum. But as of right now, nah, mate, this is not it.
Yeah, definitely not. So Francisco Prado, unfortunately, busting a number of parlays for me. So that'll always stick in the back of my mind. But in your minds, remember Veretennikov, wrestling, don't mix.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to a better fight here. Marvin Vettori versus Brandon Allen. Before getting into the actual fight itself, I did want to say that I thought it was nice that the organization acknowledged the passing of Marvin Vettori's brother, Patrick. Very sad and tragic situation there. So nice that they did a little bit of a video tribute to him. And then the second note was that while they were doing the ring announcements, this was during Bruce Buffer talking. In middle of the announcement, they cut to two dudes in the crowd doing shoeies. Why? Now, I know we know Tai Tuivasa. There's a reason there. It's a cultural thing in, the Australia, New Zealand area, whatever. Neither of these guys are from that region of the world. Why are we watching shoeies?
Yeah, that's one of those shots where they're like, oh my God, get it real quick. Get it.
Yeah.
That's actually hilarious. Mid Bruce Buffer is really funny.
Yeah, I'm like, they're gross. B, they're not connected to this. Why am I looking at it? But anyway, I digress. What'd you think of the fight?
I think it went exactly how I said it was going to go. I think I was spot on.
Yeah, very much so. I agree.
Brendan looked phenomenal on the feet. He was very confident in his striking, and he put a world of hurt on Vettori. I mean, it was very, very early in the fight that Marvin Vettori had a broken nose and was bleeding, and then Brendan Allen was able to really style on him after that. It was definitely closer than what a 30-27 would lead you to believe. I mean, either one of these rounds, other than the first, probably, you could give to Vettori. Like, it was definitely close enough that Vettori was landing some big, powerful shots, but credit to Brendan Allen. I mean, he did eat a lot of good shots. And you also will forget, guys, Brendan Allen is huge. Like, he made Vettori look small, and Vettori, I'm not convinced that he's the smallest guy, guys. Like, he's pretty big of a guy himself. Brendan Allen is just massive, confident in the striking, put him on the back foot, laid in a lot of good combinations. And I think he just really just did the performance that I was really expecting. We would have saw this in a casino had there not been security, is all I'm thinking.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, shout out to Felder again saying, because my note was Allen should lean on his striking more often if he's got hands like that. And Felder made the good point that when there's bad blood, you want to go out and punch the guy. You don't necessarily want to just wrestle him for the entire fight.
Yeah, and I actually would like to point out that this was very classy by Brendan Allen to go ahead and, chalk it up to, respect on mutual combat. It takes a lot of guts to step in the cage. Not everybody would have done it. And he even said, after the thing with his brother, he wouldn't have even, participated. So it was respect for Vettori for stepping in there and obviously putting on the performance. And I think it was very deserving of the fight of the night. There probably should have been 2 fight of the nights, but whatever.
Is this the one that won fight of the night?
This one fight of the night, yes.
All right, interesting. Yeah, a lot of competition on this card, of course. But this was a solid striking affair on both sides, really. I mean, nice crisp striking to start it off and all the way through pretty much. I mean, Allen got clipped a little early, then a really nice takedown and some of the signature ground game for a little early there. So great work for that. Like you said, busted the nose up. Vettori was wearing the damage early in this fight. I think that the scar tissue is going to start making it a lot more of a bloody affair for Vettori going forward. I mean, it's inevitable. He takes so much damage. I mean, and obviously shout out to him for being one of, if not the toughest chins in this sport. And I think that that's not even hyperbole really when it comes to Marvin Vettori. He has to have the best chin in the game, in my opinion. But because of that, he takes so much damage, and over time that just we see it with guys like Nate Diaz, where tough guys end up bleeding more so than anyone else because of how much damage they take. So that was apparent early that he was going to be bleeding out pretty heavily, and he did. Not too much to say other than that through the second and third. It was a good two-way scrap. Allen just landed more and got the takedown in the first. So that, kind of swung it his way, even though Vettori was swinging. And Vettori is a tough guy, a durable guy. He just doesn't have enough of the pieces in place to hang at the highest of this sport. And Brandon Allen being right at the cusp of that, I think that really speaks volumes based on what the rest of the division looks like.
This unfortunately came early for us. I mean, this should have been the co-main event. It should have been 5 rounds. I think it would have been very interesting had it been 5 rounds. These guys were definitely gassed after 3, but that's what makes those extra rounds very important. We probably could have seen a finish. I thought either one of them could have been working towards one, especially with the gas tanks. But Brendan Allen, like I said, confident in his striking. The bad blood was there. And I actually did want to bring it up also, since we brought up Vittori and the passing of his brother. Brendan Allen's brother as well was also in some
Yes.
sort of accident or whatever.
That
So just
quadriplegic.
yeah, so that was good for him to shed some light on that as well. Builds character. We're all fighting for something out there. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought that Brendan Allen in his post-fight speech, aside from the good sportsmanship that you mentioned, I liked the bravado, man. In my hometown, in front of my brother, in front of these fans, you cannot fuck with me. I was like, hell yeah, dude. That's I like it. That's like you want a little bit of that, because I respect the guys who are like low key, kind of go out there, do your thing, not a lot of shit talking, but fight like this with a little bit of a little bit of tension behind it. Good striking affair between these two, obviously a scrap like that. It was warranted in that moment. And I give him a lot of credit for the way he conducted himself.
yeah, I agree. Brendan Allen, we've had our moments, man. I've not always been the biggest fan, but you are coming around as somebody that I can trust a performance out of. You are consistent in what I know to expect out of you, and that's really all I can pray for when I want to watch these fights and I see Brendan Allen's name come up. I know what I'm going to get, and that's really all I can expect out of you. So, shout out to you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Good performance here. Vittori, he seems like he's on that backslide, that dreaded backslide. And, he took a little bit of time away from the sport, came back, loses again, coming back.
He's only 33 or some shit like that.
I mean,
Man.
only, but like, when you get that close to the highest of the high and you don't achieve it, and now you're continuously backsliding and taking losses, I don't know. I'd be a little concerned about Vittori going forward. Like
He
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 could
needs
very
to.
well be just like, Jared Cannonier. Like, he's fun in his losses. He may get finished, but like you're not gonna stop booking him. Like, come on.
I hope. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that I hope that he can get those wins to continue to make it even a checkerboard, so that it will keep him around a little bit longer, and he can get into that sort of middle territory where he's just getting booked regularly, and it just is what it is. Because it's always hard when you get close to being elite, don't achieve being elite, and now you're backsliding. It just doesn't look good, and I don't want to see him get into Calvin Kattar territory, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he's probably already there, but I still think he's exciting enough in a division of people that are finishers that if you get rid of him before we see him get finished in the UFC is a major mistake. Give him anybody in the division, like Vo here. Shout out you. Vittori versus Shara Bullet. Give him people that are going to test the finishing abilities. And if Marvin Vittori is going to be able to eat shots from Brendan Allen like this all day, I mean, he may not get finished anytime soon, but I think that's where his career is heading. You're not getting rid of Marvin Vittori just because he's losing. We actually looked into it. Speaking of the karate combat shit, Sam Alvey, the double champ over there, he lost like 9 in a row or some shit. Like there was a draw in between 9 losses or something like that. So people can get away with it.
Yeah, but where's he fighting now?
Yeah, karate combat. But
Yeah.
Marvin Vittori, he can go to bare knuckle if he wanted to after he loses a few.
That now you're talking. That might not be half bad, honestly.
Mhm.
That I could kind of see that working out. God, that brick head of his, and all of the potential blood loss going on there would be pretty entertaining. So yeah, maybe. I'm just saying, I like Marvin Vittori at the end of the day. I think he's not the greatest fighter, but he's a tough, durable dude who goes out there and takes a ton of damage to give damage. I mean, he does swing. So I do want to see him continue on, and hopefully that happens.
Yeah, I definitely I could see more Vittori, but I digress.
All right. Well, I'll move on to the featured prelim here. Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. Vinicius Oliveira is a guy that there are just things about him that bother me a little bit, but one thing that does not bother me is the fact that this dude has brass balls that he swings around at will, it would seem, because this dude, Vinicius, is a heavyweight in a bantamweight's body. This dude has a chip on his shoulder, hands down by his waist, winging shots from a mile away at awkward angles. I cannot think of another fighter that fights exactly like him. Like he is
Um,
an anomaly to me.
it's not listen, he doesn't fight the exact same as the name that I'm going to throw out, but the methodical, the mysticism at the in the way that his strikes come from unorthodox positions is more like a Yuri. But obviously Yuri is way more technical than what you just saw on this, because when the fight started, I questioned if we made the biggest mistakes of our life, because what I was watching from Vinicius Oliveira in that first round, and he continued to do it. I'm not saying he switched up, because it was one of the funkiest performances that you'll see. The way that he was dipping his head into every single shot that Kyler was throwing initially, it was looking like a very long night for Mr. Vinicius Oliveira. And then Kyler Phillips gassed, and then it was free reign for Vinicius Oliveira to just walk forward like Jason Voorhees and throw punches from the stratosphere. They didn't necessarily all land. It actually wasn't a very clean performance. He did get the knockdown, but like this performance kind of lost some stock for Vinicius. I think in his mind, he thought he was going to get some aura from this, but like in my mind, you lost all what I thought you had in the technicality department because of a weird, I mean, you did win, but I would not say this is going to work against everybody. So that's just,
Yeah, I gotta believe that there's going to be fighters higher up that are going to be able to figure this out, but it's just a hard. It's one of those fight styles where it's like, how do you train for it? You know, I
mhm.
mean, like he's a tough puzzle to figure out, Vinicius Oliveira. Like
Is he
Kyler,
though? No, he's not. No,
I would
he's
say
not.
so. I mean, because
Kyler figured him out in the first round and then gave up because he's tired. Dude, that was he
gave
was
up. I
whooping him.
mean,
He was whooping him in the first round. That's what all the judges gave him the first round.
well, he
I
definitely
mean,
did win the first round. Yeah.
see, but like that's the point. Like it wasn't easy. It was so easy for him right out the gate to just get it. It's like, all right, I figured it out. And then once he was unable to do that because his body was refusing, then we have a problem. But once you have somebody who comes out and doesn't, like, they call Kyler Phillips a front runner, and that's a very good thing. I mean, he's only winning if he's on top. But at the time where he's got to finish and come back, he's never going to do that. Vinicius Oliveira, I just don't think that we've seen somebody that's given him the matchup that'll make you realize what I saw on Saturday. I saw somebody willingly putting holes in their game, and that's what I like. I have no idea. He never has fought like that, in my opinion. I was saying this dude fought like Anderson Silva before this. Now I'm looking at him like, you fight like a drunk guy. Like it was really crazy. It was really crazy.
Yeah, Phillips did look good in the first round. He clipped Vinicius early, and
Hmm.
after that, it was all Oliveira. Oliveira dropped Phillips early in the second, and Phillips did navigate smartly. Going to the wrestling to try to get himself back into it a little bit, but all the damage thereafter was on Oliveira's side, and yeah, it's almost ridiculous that Oliveira has success with that style, but he certainly did. I think that my thought process has to evolve on Kyler Phillips. I think I was putting a little bit too much stock into him. I did pick him to win this fight. He did not. Yeah, I like he's technically proficient, but not quick enough on his feet to adjust game plans, I think.
See, you just gotta think like, okay, bantamweight division. So compare Vinicius Oliveira to somebody like Malcolm Wellmaker. They both throw very meaty hooks, but at least Malcolm Wellmaker stands his base, throws them from like, you know, technical positions. He doesn't like dip his head and then throw his arm over. Like he's not doing windmill punches. I think Vinicius Oliveira thinks that he's untouchable. I think he thinks there's a lot more to his chin than there is. But if Kyler Phillips was able to wobble you initially in the first round, brother, Malcolm Wellmaker's got a shot for you in the first round that I don't think you will eat. But I like Vinicius Oliveira. I just think willingly showing that you'll continue to do in my opinion, you won the fight. You won the fight. But in my opinion, that is a dumb game plan to continue going with. Somebody's going to sit down on an uppercut and just eat you alive. Like you just got to be better than that, I think. And shout out to you for winning. Who am I to say what works? You are a Chad. You are one of the boys that we will always be ready to root for. But don't let me think that somebody can exploit the game plan. Make me think that Malcolm Wellmaker, another example. If you stand with him, you're done. And if you can't get him down, you're done. Vinicius Oliveira, now I think people might be able to stand with you. So That's the hurtful part.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic that Kyler Phillips's nickname is the Matrix when Vinicius seems like he thinks that he's Neo. You know, just like punches are just going to be flying past his head with no ability to touch him, kind of thing. Will that be able to work out going forward? Probably not. And I said it in the intro here. I think that he's a little bit too arrogant for my liking. There's just something about him that, like, it seems that he really has that chip on his shoulder, like he is untouchable. And that's the exact type of person that's like aching to be taken down a peg. So depending on who he gets matched up against going forward, it's going to be a hard fall off for him. I would suspect.
Yeah, but and what's unfortunate about that too is he's not the type of person that's just like waiting for the easy fight contract. Like, he's out on social media making his shots known that he wants the top competition. He wants the grapplers and he wants the people that you think he's not going to beat. And unfortunately, with that confidence, you have to be able to bring a massive game. So
Right.
I'm rooting for you, Vinny, but brother, you really have to just prove to me that you are that fucking guy still, because that performance really has me questioning if you are. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, fair. I think it's a
Great
fair
performance.
assessment. I mean, yeah, it's certainly an effective one against Kyler Phillips, who, like I said, I have to come to the realization that he is not who I thought that he was, unfortunately, and that hurts a little bit.
And you know what, Gabe? Yeah, I do think it. How about book that shit right now? Malcolm Wellmaker, Vinicius Oliveira, right now, September.
I like it. I mean, that would certainly be a good way to bring Oliveira down to earth a little bit. You know, if he does think that he can get away with that kind of shit, and also just to see if Malcolm Wellmaker has the wherewithal. Because, like I said, I mean, I'm not fully buying that like the style is as easy to figure out just because he got caught in the first round. I think that having to chase guys down like that, because it's a difference between the Yusuf Zalal running and what he was doing. Like, he's in there, like, doing the head weaving, dipping down super low, getting around shots kind of thing, whatever. Like, it's a different type of having to go after a person as opposed to somebody who's across the cage from you. You're having to go and chase him with your strikes. So your cardio gets tested in a big way with that. That's partially why Phillips ended up,
Yeah, well, Kyler Phillips showed us that he's not the type of dude that'll stand his base. He won't stand there and stop moving. I think Malcolm Wellmaker in this example is somebody who, he'll move back a little bit, but he's going to step back and he's going to launch something crazy at you. And you better be able to dodge, or you better be able to get out the way or shoot for it. And I think that would be Vinicius' best option there. Because if you're going to walk in hands down, chin high, brother, it's just not. Listen, there's a reason that people don't train that shit. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a good win here. He continues a decent little win streak. So
this fight right here, he fought like Robellis, literally. That's what Robellis looked like on Friday night.
I mean, with all of the movement.
Yeah, like just how erratical and how unorthodox that you would say that's a that's a guy who trains professionally in mixed martial arts. Like,
yeah, well, then I guess that does go to my point. He is a heavyweight in a bantamweight's body, so
I think his ego thinks that too.
Right.
But I don't think. I think Manel Cap also has that kind of the little man syndrome kind of deal. I think is more or less what I think I'm reading into it now. But somebody's not going to be affected by all that shit, and they're going to be ready to go make some money. And I think Vinicius is going to have a fight brought to him one day that he maybe is not expecting because he's so confident. He thinks that he's going to get it done so quick. True. And we've seen him, obviously, he's going to decision. It's not like he's the killer, and it's not like his cardio is being questioned. But if you think you're going to have 3 rounds of walking forward with your hands down against an elite striker, I don't know about it. I just don't know. That's just hard to say.
Yeah, well, I guess with a couple of wins now strung together, we'll see. I mean, they were talking about how somebody to keep an eye on for the top of the division kind of stuff. People at the top are going to be looking out for him now. See who they end up pairing him up with and what they're able to do with that. I would suspect that there are going to be people who are going to see through what he's bringing to the table.
Give him Jonathan Martinez. I've heard enough.
I like it. All right, well, let's move on to main card here. Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. This is where things start going off the rails a little bit when we get into main card, but Michael Johnson out here doing it for the old guys. I was very happy with this performance overall from him, but really slightly perplexed on the Zellhuber side. What you think?
Yeah, Daniel Zellhuber, is officially off the list. I mean, he's not somebody that I could ever count on again. This is a 39-year-old Michael Johnson who put on the performance of a lifetime, bro. He literally dropped Daniel Zellhuber, and I can't even believe what I was witnessing from Daniel Zellhuber. He literally was throwing high kicks only in the whole first fight. That's all. The whole first fight, the whole fight, he literally was just throwing high kicks. Never once, even after Nick Sick. Oh my God, this was so funny. After the first round, and we've seen this before, I forget who it was. Kevin Holland with MVP. He goes right to the corner and says, wow, he's a lot faster than I thought. And it's 39-year-old Michael Johnson. At that point, I knew we were screwed.
But see,
Daniel Zellhuber is
well, all
terrible.
right, but let me at least be the advocate for old man Johnson here, because whether or not he is that age or not, he did look fantastic in this performance. So I would say that he is one of those people that is defying his age with the speed that he still has. Like you can say that he's an old guy, and he certainly is when it comes to this sport. But when you're able to move like he was moving, it certainly did not look like he was 39 years old. So regardless of the age aspect of it, when you're fighting like that, I think you got to be a little bit understanding of that aspect of things. I mean, Zellhuber should have been anticipating a better fight out of him than he did, maybe. But I mean, I really think that you got to give it up to Michael Johnson for still having the athleticism at that age.
This is a guy that's been finished 15 times, by the way.
So,
And Daniel Zellhuber just couldn't figure out anything that worked for him. And it's just absolutely embarrassing, to be honest. Daniel Zellhuber, I don't know what the issue was. I don't know what you could chalk it up to. But genuinely, in the third round, watching Michael Johnson full sweat after a striking masterclass while you sit there and get dropped on your ass, and you're not even sweating either. Like, that's the shit that pissed me off too. It's like, did you even attempt, like, for real? Like, I watched you throw high kicks and I watched you stand on the outside and get boxed up. Like, where was the attempt? I genuinely was so mad at this performance because, bro, 39 years old, Michael Johnson, he's been finished by anybody and everybody, bro. Clay Guida has beat this dude. Daniel Zellhuber gets fucking destroyed in a 3-round matchup. Like, I just can't believe it.
well, I mean, but Michael Johnson has also beat some of the best himself. He's got the craziest record of all time, with who he's beaten and been beaten by. So I want to give the proper respect to the veteran Michael Johnson here, not just dogpile on Zellhuber, but there are definitely things about Zellhuber's performance that were not great, and you're highlighting a lot of them. I think that Zellhuber does have some nice kicks, but if he wanted to stay at range, the volume needed to be higher. I mean, like if you're just going to kick, that's not the worst strategy if you're worried about getting touched, but you have to do it at a high rate of output and then combo it with some hand strikes at some point. I mean, like you can soften up the body with some kicks nicely and then pick your shots with your hands thereafter. He just wasn't doing that. It was like he had some kind of mental block going on with like putting it all together. Like it was picking single shots a lot more, while you have on the other side Mike Johnson, who's going after it. He's out here hands sharp, still fast at his age, doing what needs to be done to win a fight, not getting what you'd think he'd be getting back from his opponent. This is what it equals up to. You got to combo your shots, man. I mean, this is like one-on-one shit.
It was honestly just so irritating to me because Daniel Zellhuber just wasn't locked in. He had his hands high, and Michael Johnson just kept jabbing him right to the stomach, right underneath. And literally, he just kept his hands there. Like, he just did not react to it. It's like, yo, you don't think to just, like, turn and put, like, you don't think to do anything in the situation. It was so fucking frustrating. And then top it off with the frustration. Eric Nixick is like, dude, you got to go for it. You got to get a finish. We got to get this one. And he goes in the third round and starts side kicking him to the stomach. I genuinely just hate this dude because of what I saw. I saw you go to a 3-round war with Ribovics that I would argue you won. And then you do this. No fucking chance.
Yeah, I did feel bad for Eric Nixick in this moment because he was, Nixick is one of my favorite coaches. And one of the reasons that is I think he gives amazing cornering. And the corner advice was 100% correct through both cornering sessions. Like, it was at first you need to use your hands more. It was really just engage your hands. I want to see more hand striking. Like, you're doing a lot of kicking, throw your hands out there a little bit more. And then thereafter, it was go and actually bring this fight to him and make something happen. You need to the kicks are not all that you have in your arsenal here. And it was like he almost was like Sean Strickland in the sense of like it was flying past him, but it wasn't that, because you heard him actively listening to it. So it was frustrating for Nixick. I felt bad for him, like giving good advice and it's just not being followed.
No, this fight it just hurt my fucking head so much. Shout out to Michael Johnson, because like I said, he put on a great performance. But Daniel Zellhuber, dude, you are off the list of anybody that I will put stock into.
Yeah, and an unfortunate way to start out main card, because I think a lot of people were thinking that this was going to be a big fireworks display on Zellhuber's side, of course, with the age of Michael Johnson. Did not go that way. But on the other side of the equation, if you bet on Michael Johnson, that plus 550 on this book, plus 500 on a lot of books, that came through in a big way. So shout out to everybody who had faith in the old man. Talking about a title run still. 39 years old, wants to run for the title. I say let him go as far as he can.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be very far, because there should be a prospect that is damn decent that finishes a 39-year-old who's been finished 15 times. So whatever. I can't believe that performance. That it just really is terrible.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't like that performance, how about the next fight? Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. What another slow plodding fight on the Pitbull side, but also slow and plodding on Dan's side as well. This was a fight that happened.
I thought I was as close as they can be when it's the split decision Pitbull call. I was very set on that being a realistic outcome. I thought this should have been a split, but to be honest, this fight was just boring. This fight really sucked because the whole first round they did nothing. Second round, I think that was the round that Pitbull dropped Dan Ige to the knee. He took a knee for the vets. Shout out Dan Ige. But this one just sucked because I talk about Dan Ige a lot. It's like this is as good as they get before you get great. So Pitbull, if he's gonna be great, he's gonna beat Dan Ige. If he's not, then rest is history. But obviously he is a little bit better than Dan Ige, because Dan Ige is like, listen, we know that Dan Ige is good at negating game plan or game styles. He is very good at being whatever you need him to be in the defensiveness, but he oftentimes is just that. Like, he doesn't have anything offensively that he's producing unless it's a fucking overhand from hell that he throws from his hip, and it's fine when it works, but like Pitbull is in the same fucking case where they just sit there stagnant and wait for that one fucking shot to happen. So it just took one of them to figure it out that all they got to do is put something together in the open field. And Pitbull started to lead the dance with more combinations, leading more power. Dan Ige wasn't being able to do anything. We have Eric Nixick pleading for his life with all of his fucking fighters, and not a single goddamn one was able to pull it out the goddamn fire. Like, what is the problem?
Yeah, this was definitely a bad night for the Nixick team.
I predicted the downfall on the Nixick group. I'm just saying. I predicted it.
I wouldn't go that far necessarily as for everybody, but in this instance, it certainly wasn't great. So starting this off, the wrestling was definitely there for Pitbull in the first. Takedowns swung him that round since Dan was swinging too far out of range, and that was frustrating to me to start things off. I talk time and time again about being first, starting strong. This is the exact type of fight where Dan Ige could have pulled away with it the way that Pitbull fights. Like, he's just not a very active fighter. DC was going on and on about it on the commentary, and I'm like, dude, you're preaching to the choir right now. We're all seeing the same thing. We're seeing this low output guy who responds. He is it's not even countering. I mean, countering is one version of a response. He is just let me see what's coming my way, and when it comes my way, I'll decide what I want to do. That's that's prime territory for somebody to be like, okay, well, I'm going to overpower. I'm going to work him over, not let him have that opportunity to decide what the next move is. I decide what the next move is. Dan didn't do that. And that is an unfortunate element. So first round, just off of takedowns alone, Pitbull gets that. Ige turns up the striking a little bit in the second. Should have extended the combos when he had the chance to, because Pitbull ends up stinging him and evens things out with some hands and another takedown. I mean, that was, I think what you were talking about when he went down to the knee. Dan should have been way more urgent in his actions after he recovered. I mean, there's so many times where Dan had the opportunity to bring urgency to the table and didn't do it against a much more inactive fighter. So Dan catches Pitbull with the knee early in the third round, but Pitbull stays on with the grappling. Dan thwarts the grappling, but doesn't do enough on top. It was just time and time again where Dan Ige had opportunities that he didn't capitalize on. Pitbull capitalizes a little bit more. The whole fight felt like it was at like 0.75 speed. So I gave Pitbull all 3 rounds, but that's a very sad thing to say.
Yeah, it was a horrible performance, not gonna lie. This was just not a fun one to watch. And Dan Ige is somebody that always brings a fun performance. And I remember typing in the Discord that Patricio Pitbull was just allergic to fun. I mean, there's just never gonna be a fun performance that he puts on. It's always gonna be like this. And you have to have somebody who's gonna actually whoop his ass in creative ways, like Yair did, of course. And that will be a fun performance to watch. But if you have somebody who's only gonna negate what Pitbull does, and he's going to have to play off of what Pitbull is leading the fight with, it's not going to be exciting. Not going to be anything to watch.
And even with Yair, like I felt in the Yair fight that he wasn't even going after it as much as he could have been. Like that's what I'm waiting for, somebody who's going to come out here, say, I don't give a fuck about any of your previous accomplishments. Because Ige had said that. They were talking about that on, in the pre-fight lead up. Oh, he had a loss in his debut in the organization. He's got a point to prove now, but I'm going to, put a stop to that. That's not happening with me. I'm pressing the violence button or whatever the hell, he's got all this shit that he was saying. And I'm like, I want somebody who's actually going to do that. Say, I don't care about any of your previous accomplishments. I don't care about who you've beaten or not beaten in here. I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to do it decisively. And you're not going to have a chance to do any of your little counter bullshit or wait for your opportunities. That's all that it takes.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
So, yeah, and then the other thing, too, to your point as well, like I had said on the watch along, this is the exact type of performance. Yeah, he might have won this fight, but there was nobody who is now a Pitbull fan because of this. Like, he's on a pay-per-view because of all of his previous accomplishments, but do you really want to continue to book this guy who's either going to lose or win like this?
Yeah, co-main of the Apex is as best as I can give you right now.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. You're Rick in the pawn shop with this. I believe it. But yeah, so, I mean, he gets the win here, whatever. We'll see what they match him up with next. But I mean, him thinking that he's going to be a champion in this organization, I mean, there's going to be a rude awakening. And it's only going to take one person to do what I just laid out. Go in there and be decisive against him. Be first, be effective.
Oh, but Michael Johnson, head on to your title shot, buddy.
Way fucking different. Come on, dude. You got to admit that Michael Johnson was at least active, at least going after it, working the body over, doing what he needed to do.
I will agree. Michael Johnson put on a hell of a performance and made me a believer.
Doing it for the old guys. Come on, man. I need something. You got to give this to me.
Hey, speaking of the old guys, we could talk about this next fight.
Sure. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. This was a wild ride. I for sure, when I had heard that Max and Dustin didn't win fight of the night, I for sure thought that this was going to be fight of the night.
No, absolutely not. What's nuts about this is I had the worst viewing experience ever for this. So sucks. I missed a lot of good stuff that happened. But I do know that Daniel Rodriguez apparently is the one and only person that can just knock Kevin to the ground other than Michael Oleksiejczuk. He drops him. Kevin Holland looked so slow in this fight. Don't know where he was at. Don't know why he looked so bad. Like I said, Rodriguez drops him, goes for the finish. Probably should have just stood him up there. The dude can't even fucking walk. But then we get later in the fight. It's a little gritty. Kevin Holland actually gets some good shots back, traded late. Finish still doesn't come. This one was, for what I can see, very, very fun, but just two dudes that we should have seen a better performance of Kevin Holland. We should have seen a worse performance of Daniel Rodriguez. They actually met right up in the middle for a war. That's kind of just how it went.
I don't know how many times I have to say on this show that Kevin Holland is betting poison, but I will say it one more time for the people in the back who didn't hear me the first 100. Kevin Holland is betting poison. And this fight is exactly The perfect example of it, because you never know what version of Kevin Holland you are going to get. The version of Kevin Holland in this fight was, I thought, would have been more effective, but for some reason was not. It was the more composed version. He wasn't talking a whole bunch. He, really very, very minimal jawing at all. I don't think he even really opened his mouth all that much at all. He was very locked in, it seemed like. He seemed like he was really focused and taking the fight very seriously. But Rodriguez just able to punch his way past the ranged attacks, which I think threw him off. It felt like Holland just didn't get settled. And you'd think that a guy like Holland, who fights every freaking week, that he could just go in there and be settled. But for some reason, I don't know what it was about Daniel Rodriguez specifically, but like Holland was, like I said, very measured in this, didn't want to get close at first. Rodriguez capitalized almost just off of pressure, because Daniel Rodriguez has a great way of punching his way forward. And that, I think, did a lot of work to take away some of the things that Kevin Holland can sometimes get away with when it comes to his striking. He has deceptively long arms as well, Rodriguez. For his frame, you think of him as like a big stocky guy, and that is true. He definitely does have a big, broad torso, but like his arms are pretty long. So the range wasn't always on Holland's side. So him punching his way forward got him close enough into range where he was touching Holland in ways that I don't think that Holland was expecting. Ended up getting stung pretty badly in the beginning of round 2 there. And that's when he ended up getting dropped, like you said. Wisely, D-Rod lets him back up, drops him again, then chooses to stay on the ground. That was the big mistake right here, because like DC and you said, let him back up a second time, bro. He was done. I mean, he was toasted. The fact that the fight was even going on, Mike Beltran letting this thing go, and it's like, fine, because that was the right thing to do. But all Rodriguez had to do was just disengage, stand there, say, get the fuck back up, and one more time would have done it. Goes to the ground, ends up, tussling and all that. Holland ends up getting himself back into the fight. And like you had mentioned, first time that Holland has ever been officially knocked down in the UFC. So pretty crazy that it took Daniel Rodriguez to do it.
Yeah, pretty fucking nuts. Daniel Rodriguez, he actually got dropped by a really soft uppercut late in the fight, which was really funny. But he was exhausted. So the fact that he finished this fight was very, very good. I always love a performance when they get on the mic, and Daniel Rodriguez is one of the few people that'll get on here and do this, where they'll actually let you know that they were like surprised they won. Like, man, I don't even know how I did that shit. I just walked in here, a few weeks ago, I was just eating cheeseburgers, and I'm happy. It's a good performance. And shout out to him. I do agree. It was a great performance. And to just walk in and fucking almost finish Kevin Holland. I mean, dude, I'm in awe. Like, this card, like I said, fever dream.
Yeah, no, it was pretty insane that he was able to stay in this thing to the end, because yeah, like you said, Kevin Holland getting that uppercut round 3 ends up laying some pretty big shots on thereafter too. So it was like through the fire and the flames on both sides to an extent, because Kevin Holland even being able to have his wits about him to do that after getting pummeled, pretty crazy. Tries for some grappling late in the round. D-Rod ends up in mount as well. That was, like another opportunity that he could have possibly finished, but he was so tired. So yeah, this to me definitely was fight of the night in my opinion. 2-1 Rodriguez, absolutely the right call here, but it was hell to get there.
I unfortunately would say the only lasting thing that I would take away is that just a couple weeks ago, I said Kevin Holland should be on the White House card. I take it back.
Yeah, he's just too much of a wild card. I want to like Kevin Holland. Like, I mean, like when he is on, he's great. Like, he has greatness in it. He shows those flecks of greatness. I think I said it, a couple of months ago, where I was like, it's like he almost doesn't allow himself to be as great as he's capable of being sometimes. I don't know if that was that here. I think it was more just Rodriguez doing things that he wasn't anticipating. But at this point in his career, fighting as often as he does, there should be nothing surprising at this point. Like, you should know what you're getting into with any one of these guys.
Elite made a great point. He was listening to a lot of the the pre-fight stuff during the week, and Kevin Holland said that he just wasn't confident that he was at like championship level or whatever. And Elite was like, dude, you got a split decision loss to the current champ. You need to be locked in right now. You could make a good push. And then he came in here and stunk up the performance. So maybe he just wasn't in the right headspace. I mean, Kevin Holland is not a dude that is, unknown to just be in a funk. Who knows what's going on? Maybe he was just high.
He's also just one of those guys that does not. I mean, we've sometimes see guys like Sean Strickland is a great example of a guy who claims that he doesn't care about championships, but then really does care about them. I truly do believe that Kevin Holland is just happy to be getting paid. He's
Yeah.
happy to be fighting often. He's happy that people enjoy his performances enough that he can continuously fight. The paycheck is always there for him. He lives a good, comfortable life off of that, and that's enough for him. So
Yeah.
win or lose, it's not really all that important to him, and that's why I just can't ever really be 100% behind him, even when I want to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's unfortunate that he lost this fight, but it was a damn good fight. I don't know why it didn't get, fight of the night, but whatever.
Yeah, and shout out to Rodriguez. I'm telling you, I mean,
He should have got performance of the night, actually, I guess, but whatever.
based on even just staying in it after he got dropped. There was a whole, like I said, it was a roller coaster. It was a bit of a wild one. So I give Rodriguez a lot of credit in this one too. Arguably a much more skilled fighter in Kevin Holland, and able to use his assets, being the guy that we talk about as a dude who's really just a power puncher, kind of meaty hook guy, able to use that to his advantage. Like there are ways to utilize those more narrow skill sets. This is a great example of how to do that. If you're just going to be a power puncher, get in close to get the power shots. Like, you don't have to have, I mean, you should have, you're a mixed martial artist. You should have all the skills that you need. But if you don't, then use the ones that you do have effectively.
Hell yeah, I agree with that.
All right, co-main event. Let's talk about it. Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. I want to start off by saying, because I am a hater, I don't like Paulo Costa. I think that he has proven himself to not be elite. I think that he is unprofessional. He's an anti-Semite, but that doesn't really matter to this conversation. I don't like him. And that being said, I think that this was a good fight for Paulo Costa. I think this was much better than we've seen him recently, but this was a good fight for him. This wasn't necessarily the greatest fight of all time. And also, this was a terrible performance for Roman Kopylov. So those things together, yes, Paulo did win the fight. I'm not arguing that. Does it change my opinion about him? No, it does not.
That's actually the thing that I was going to say is, like, just because Paulo Costa had one performance where he didn't gas out and shit the bed does not mean he's not going to do that the next fight.
Bingo.
I've seen it already. Kopylov, he has not let me down yet, but he has finally done so. Everybody is the hero long enough until they're the villain, whatever you want to say the case is. Kopylov just did not have the game plan to beat Paulo Costa. Paulo came out here with a great performance. I'll give that one to him. But like I said with Gutierrez, he's got the frame where even if he has one or two performances that he skates to decision, it is always going to be a factor. If he has a good cut, if he's able to make the weight, if he's going to be able to stick in the fight for this long. Great performance, like I said, from Costa, was able to butcher Kopylov basically, but more of a lackluster performance from Kopylov. I wish I could say more about Costa, but I'm still not. I'm not betting on him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know that it was a turn of phrase, but I don't think that Kopylov is the villain as much as he was the little kid. You know what I mean? That's what it looked like to me. It was just, he looked nervous. He looked like a child against a grown man kind of thing.
Didn't attempt the wrestling that he has been using in the last couple fights anyway. So whatever.
Indeed. And if you're not going to do that with as little output as he was having in this fight, looking nervous from the jump and not doing enough, I mean, it's just, you allow Costa to have the fight that he had. You know what I'm saying? Like it really, like Kopylov, much like Daniel Zellhuber, has really fast, crisp kicks. He didn't like the power up top from Costa. Why are you not spamming those kicks then? Like, you have other options. He just didn't. It seemed to me like he was out of his element. And I think that they were saying, that in the lead up to this fight, Kopylov was acknowledging how much Costa has done, and he's fought for the championship, and like a win over him is like really important because it's like it's a milestone career. Like, he was giving Costa too much respect, I think. And then once he was in there, felt what Costa was throwing out at him, it started to materialize in his mind, like, oh, this respect is warranted.
Yeah,
you're out of it at that point.
I agree. Yeah, he just did not have the mindset to win this fight. Kopylov did not fight like he normally fights. I've seen this dude be in some really gritty matchups and get finishes late. He just did not look like he was in the right We got to check. There was a lot of people that I would say just weren't in their right mind. We got to check on the rooms. Were they painted recently or something? What's going on?
Saudi
Seriously.
Arabian paint fumes. Could
Yeah.
be, man. Yeah, out there in New Orleans, perhaps. But yeah, no, I mean, as far as what actually happened in it, it was really just one. It was 3 rounds, but it was really just one long round of Costa having a solid performance with textbook fundamentals.
Mhm.
That's all I really could say about it. It's not like he did anything overly flashy, anything dramatic. Obviously, did not finish the fight. That should tell you something. With an opponent like this, with how we're describing it, this should have been something that he could easily have finished. He did not.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was, I think, a little bit of deer in the headlights on Kopylov's side. And I also wanted to note, we talked a lot about Nixick, but I want to say something about Kopylov. I think that Kopylov needs a new team, because between rounds, they're telling him he's doing everything right. And I'm like, brother, in a fight like this, he's doing everything right. Like, I think even Dean Thomas had said, like, I didn't like the cornering at all. And I was like, brother, you are absolutely correct. Because if they're telling him that he is even at least slightly up, then there is a big problem there. He needs to be, they need to be lighting the fire. Like, you are down. You need to come back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard the same thing too. Like going into the third round, like I'm pretty sure they told Kopylov, like, yeah, it could be close, like, but it's like, no.
Close.
Yeah.
He got knocked down twice. I think he got knocked down or staggered at least in all 3 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean,
yeah.
And then at the end, I mean, the other thing that just, if you wanted a picture of how, like, bad this was, like one image to sum it up, 2 minutes left in the fight, Kopylov, still looking decently fresh, all things considered, is standing in front of Costa, not throwing anything.
It's another thing about the fight. I brought it up earlier, is Costa is drenched in sweat. Kopylov just standing in the middle of the ring, no fucking sweat on him. You can see his curly hair is still fuzzy, like it's not wet. So I don't know where the attempt was, but I would say Kopylov coasted through this one, unfortunately. No pun intended on Paulo's side.
Yeah, no, I mean, coasted to a decisive loss. I mean, they're like 30-27. I don't know what judge thought he won a round. I'd love to know what round they thought he won.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there was nothing doing. And again, like, it really is unfortunate, because the times where he was throwing those kicks, you could hear the whip crack. I mean, he does throw nice, solid, fast kicks that land and could land effectively, but you need to throw them at 3 times the amount if that's all you're going to do. And he just wasn't. So
yeah, it was a hurtful performance, because I do like Kopylov, but
yeah. And then now you got Costa, who ends up getting a win, and like everybody's like, oh yeah, I saw it. I went on Twitter for a little bit, and everybody, people saying Costa's washed, he's back against this youngster, essentially, who, like, is this really that amazing of a win? But whatever. Now he's calling out Hamzat. I'm just like, God, I would love for them. That would be the easiest money of all fucking time if they actually gave him Hamzat.
I will agree with you on that one. That one will be fun for Costa, or not Costa. Well, yeah, it will be fun for Costa to get up out of there really quick.
yeah. Fun to watch that 30 seconds that would take.
Yes.
But yeah, so, oh well, Paulo Costa gets a win. I will take my licks for being wrong about the prediction, but no confidence going forward.
100%.
All right, finishing this thing off, the main event of the evening, Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier for the BMF title. This their third meeting, and the retirement fight of Dustin Poirier. What'd you think?
I thought this was a great main event. I thought the fight was awesome. It was one of those fights that just didn't seem real. Like I said, the whole main card was a fever dream, and to have this topped off being as impressive of a performance from both of them, it was just honestly awesome. When you're watching it, first round goes by and it's decently close. Max took it most likely, and then the second round comes and Max drops him, and then you throw your hands up like, oh, no fucking way.
Oh, that was the first round. He dropped him in the first.
They both dropped each other in the second round, though, so they must not have tallied the other one. Okay. But dropped him in the first round. My apologies. Max obviously looking on top. It was the first round. You're right. Because I remember thinking, like, wow, he really is just going to immediately beat the fuck out of him. Like,
that's what I had said. I was like, how crazy would it have been if he just put Dustin out in the first round in his retirement fight? That would have been awful. I'm so glad that did not happen.
Yes. So we get to the second round, and then they both trade knockdowns on this one, which was pretty impressive. Dustin showing a little fire. Then 3 through 5, really just the same thing. Max leading the charge. I don't really remember too many of the bigger moments in this. Dustin jumped the ghillie. They got down to the final moments, and Max wanted to stand and bang, and Dustin didn't want any part of it. That was about the wrap up of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, Dustin not wanting to stand and bang lets you
Was
know that.
wise.
Yeah, well, A, it was wise, and B, it really does let you know that the retirement is the right call, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, you know what you were getting with Max. You always know what you're getting with Max pretty much. He didn't want to go out like Justin Gaethje. That I think that's perfectly acceptable, and also yes, retire.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was just a really solid tag fest on both sides. I mean, what I had said on the watch along, aside from the times where they had each other compromised and dropped, the drops on either side, like if you have the spectrum of like the pendulum swinging each way, it was really just going choop 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 one way. Very very slight advantages on either side for most of this thing, because really what I have noticed with both guys is that they both use their boxing to dictate both their own movements and the movements of their opponents. Anticipating the next move from the other person is a huge reason as to why they're such amazing fighters, both of them respectively. So Max is just a little bit better at this stage of the game in getting his opponent to do the things that he wants him to do, utilizing his striking to make that happen. And Dustin was on his way out, so this is the outcome that you get from that. It was certainly spirited. It definitely was a tough grit fest on both sides. Both of them showing the heart that they have, both of them being the consummate professionals that they are. You got to give it up to both of these guys. They're two of the good guys of the sport, and they certainly showed that they have the skill and grit to back up that good guy nature as well. So
I would like to also mention that the UFC did not plan out this sort of fun moment of the event. So Dustin Poirier walks out with Lil Wayne. We forgot to note that.
Yes,
He did not perform. He did not perform. He just walked out with Dustin. I mean, why was he even there if that was the case? Second, when the match was over, Dustin was like, if I win the belt, I want Lil Wayne to wrap it around me. Why did Lil Wayne wrap it around Max? That was really fun. Like, he's there. I mean, that was the thing. The BMF, Lil Wayne, whatever.
Well, I guess they have celebrities wrap the belt around, like The Rock did it one of the other times. So, the BMF is a fluff belt to begin with. We know this. It's just fluffy shit.
The last thing I'll bring up is that they played a 5 to 10 minute video for Dustin after it, and I was thinking this was the plan. So if he would have got flatlined, you would have just had a Dustin, check it out. Check it out, man.
I mean, probably, they would have
woken him up. Stretchered out, and he's got the little neck brace on. Like,
they give him the smelling salts, and they how the hospital seats, the back raises.
Yeah, there you
go. That's what they just bring him in one of those. I did think it was kind of funny that, I mean, obviously they were going to do the video package. We knew that, but it was funny considering how many knockouts we had on this card. We saw so many fucking videos of Dustin Poirier on this card. Like, good Lord, it was the Dustin show, as we knew it was going to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have been that way, but it was like, oh my God, another video. How many fucking videos can we watch of this dude? I've seen so much footage of Louisiana within this event. It was mind boggling, but look, Dustin had a few good moments in this thing, all things considered. And as tough as he is, 4-1 is the right assessment. In my opinion, I think Dustin might've taken the third round, but that was about it.
Yep. Nope. Max did exactly what I figured he was going to do and win by decision. Sadly, I did not have the funds to participate at this point. A lot of dogs won and upset my slips early.
Yeah. I think we should also mention the class act that Max Holloway is after the fight, giving all of the shine to Dustin, going out there saying, hey, I'm sorry that I was the bad guy here. This is his night. Take it away. And then coming back and saying, y'all ain't getting hype enough. You need to make some noise for the man. Like, Max is just the best, man. I'm telling you, there's a reason that he's my favorite fighter aside from being an amazing fighter.
Yeah, true. Max is a class act. I give it to you. This was a great performance for him. Obviously, the BMF is a sham because Ilya is not the BMF. So I don't know what else to say. It's hard for me to I love Max and I'll continue to root for him to win, but I'm not rooting for the BMF legacy on Max's name because it's just not right in my opinion. So
you think it should be the lineal? You think it's JDM?
No. I think Ilya is the BMF right now. That
Well, I mean, but if it's not on the line, then shouldn't it be JDM?
Yeah, see, and that's the shit that I'm talking about. Well, if it's not on the line, it's like, okay, if Dakota Dacheva fucking loses, yeah, everything she don't even have to have a belt in that matchup. Everything that she stands for is gone out the window. If Max, the BMF shit, it don't fucking matter. It don't matter.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the question then is what do they do with Max now? You know, he's not retiring. He's sticking around.
I've heard Dan Hooker is people's wannabe matchup, so
I think that makes decent sense. So, you know, get that win and then back into the title picture again for the 800th time.
I
You know,
think Max wants Charles though. They want the rematch.
oh, all right. Fine. You know, it's one of those things where like I feel bad for Max in that regard because he's another one of those dudes that like he's right there, but like there's just those people ahead of him that like are these insurmountable mountains that are unclimbable for him and so you end up in the situation where it's just like he almost ends up clogging divisions not intentionally, you know.
Right. No, I agree with you. He's in an interesting situation. He does want to go face Ilya in 55, but getting dropped by Dustin is not a very good look for that. So
For sure, yeah. The only last note that I have that I thought was pretty funny is that they come out, you know, this is at the beginning of the fight, of course. They come out to the center, they touch gloves real quickly because they're such good dudes. And then Jason Herzog says, if you want to touch gloves again, and they were like, yeah, okay.
okay.
So they touch gloves twice. Yes, two
Nice.
glove touches. Absolutely warranted. So any which way, yeah, great fun fight. You know, I think that Dustin Poirier has done way more than his fair share, way more than enough in this sport. He's got nothing to be ashamed of at all in this long storied career that he has had. This card was, of course, built around him, and it was a very touching and fitting send off for him. I just hope that he has the wherewithal to stay retired. I don't want to see him doing the celebrity boxing thing if we can avoid it, but who knows? Because I do kind of feel like he might be one of those kind of guys that the itch is just too great.
Yeah, and he's a boxer, so he might as well do it. I mean, he's like, well, fuck, if I can just get paid to throw my hands, I mean, you know, whatever.
If he wants to beat up a TikToker, perhaps, but
he could go fight Eddie Alvarez in BK. You know, I know I say that as a route for everybody, but like genuinely, if you don't want to be in the UFC anymore, maybe it's because you don't feel like you can compete in the mixing of the martial arts anymore. You are still one of the best boxers on the planet. There's not 5 people better than you in BKFC. So Eddie Alvarez, Jeremy Stevens, whatever you want to do, go get that money because Connor apparently will pay it.
I just go raise your family, man. Like, you know, he's talking about not wanting to take any more damage, wants to get out with all of his faculties. Like, stick with that, brother. Like, the sport is cruel, man. Do not go the Tony route now of obviously way different circumstances and loss streak, all that. But I mean, Tony Ferguson is fighting something called assault poppy for fuck's sake. Please, Dustin, don't save yourself from that experience. You probably would win something like that, but just why?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Well, all things considered, then after talking it through, that was UFC 318, Holloway versus Poirier 3. What'd you think of this event?
It started out good, and then it got crazy. It was a hard one.
Yeah, there were some ups and downs and some weirdness. Good night for dogs. If you were a gambling man and took a whole lot of dog money, then you know somebody made out with some good cash off of it. But I would suspect a lot of people are scratching their heads over some of that main card stuff. But yeah, fun early. A lot of finishes. I mean, we went, I think, 6 fights, all finishes starting this thing off. So good times there. Yeah, this was a fun card overall. You know, there again weirdness, but good. I enjoyed it.
100%. I agree. Here, you introduce this. I'm going to run to the restroom real quick.
Sure thing. Do your thing, man. Well, as we all know, I'm going to introduce this card, but like always, everybody, you know, we break before these podcasts start. So if you are hanging out in the chat, feel free to flame the fuck out of Chase for having to leave and use the restroom midstream. That is always acceptable here. How often does Thinker do that? I got to ask you that. Is that something that you see me doing regularly? I got to pee. I have the smallest bladder on the planet, dude. I always have to pee. I never miss an opportunity to use the restroom anywhere that I am at. Chase, leaving the podcast mid-show. Just saying. So go ahead and throw that in the chat if you'd like to. But as we move forward, this current week coming up this Saturday is UFC Fight Night. Whittaker versus DeRitter. They have it listed as UFC Fight Night. I have it as UFC on ABC. That's what the Wikipedia has it listed as, but I guess any non-pay-per-view is technically a fight night. So UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus DeRitter. This is taking place in Abu Dhabi. So keep in mind, everybody, that the start time for this thing is early. This is a noon start time for the prelims. So not an evening card. Make sure that you are getting there early, getting yourself situated and ready for this thing to start at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So welcome
Oh
back,
yeah.
sir.
Oh yeah, I'm actually, speaking of the time, I'm really happy that it's going to be a midday card. These are different vibes that we're bringing to these, and I really enjoy it. So
I love it. I personally think that it's fantastic. Gives you your evening back. You know, you get to right in the middle of the day. You roll out of bed, roll right into fights. Couldn't be better. I'm very excited about that aspect of things. So, going through it a little bit. Main event of the evening is Robert Whittaker versus Rainier DeRitter. Of course, Rob Whittaker is coming off of a very quick and brutal loss in a lot of ways. You know, that whole front line of his teeth all kinds of jacked up after his loss to Hamzat. Rainier DeRitter, also a very accomplished grappler. What are you thinking about his chances against Rainier?
I think the chances for Robert Whittaker to win are decent. I mean, but I don't know if I'm going to pick him in this matchup. I think I'll take the dog money on RDR and just pray that he's a specimen in the division and he's going to get shit handled for us.
Rob Whittaker is one of my favorite fighters, and that is why the loss to Hamzat was so hurtful to me. It was not only the loss itself, not only the quickness of the loss, but it was the fact that he had said that he trained specifically for Hamzat. So if you're training specifically for a fighter, you, in theory, should have a good handle on what they bring to the table. He was not able to overcome that. For that reason, I'm leaning towards Rainier DeRitter. And I say that with no joy because, like I said, one of my favorites. But Rainier DeRitter has proven himself to be a pretty well-rounded fighter, very skilled in all of the mixed martial arts aspects of this game. You know, he mixes the martial arts really well. Striking is better than average for sure. And on the ground, he definitely can hold his own. I think that if he gets Rob down, it's going to be a bad time for Rob. And that just seems to be something that is going to be conventional wisdom going forward until Rob proves otherwise. At 34 years old, as much as he has done in this sport, it's hard to think that an old dog is going to pick up new tricks at this point.
I agree. I'm taking RDR.
Yeah, hard to say because like I really don't want to have to think that, and I'd be very happy if I'm wrong. But Rob, just it's too many times. Too many times I get let down, you know. And after a while, you know, it's like going back with an ex-girlfriend. You know, you got to come to a point where it's like not again. You know.
Yeah, but it's fun sometimes. So keep that in mind, everybody.
And it could be fun. So hopefully, you know, maybe this will be the time. Maybe it'll be different this time.
There you go.
All right, moving on to the co-main. Petr Yan versus Marcus McGee. Obviously, Petr Yan fighting down for this one, but Marcus McGee proven that he is a formidable opponent on the feet. I like this matchup a lot, even if it doesn't move the needle for Petr. So I think that he's got a lot of balls for taking a fight that really doesn't do much for him as far as ranking goes, but could be another chance for him to style.
I still am in awe that this matchup is real. Like, these two names just do not add up to me in this division for facing each other. But maybe Petr Yan, you know, being the guy who wants greatness in this sport, he must know that Marcus McGee is somebody worth beating. This is somebody that is going to have good wins after he wins or loses against Petr Yan. Petr Yan should know that, and that's why he wants to take him out soon. So by the time he comes around to other opponents, his name is already in the mix because he's beaten him. I think this should be an easy performance for Petr Yan because he's so good and we've seen so much magic from him. But for some reason, the matchup is made, so I would not be surprised if a dog comes because we just see all the dogs winning now, apparently. So.
Yeah, has been a good time for dogs recently, but that could just be recency bias. I mean, Marcus McGee has proven that he does have really solid boxing. I mean, he definitely conducts himself in the cage very smartly. I think he has good fight IQ. He also is a fighter that I think gets into the flow state pretty effectively. Like when he's on, he locks in pretty well. That all being said, I've always thought that Petr Yan is an evolved version of him. Like he's just similar but better.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, I mean, Petr Yan, it's like Petr Yan is always going to be like a weird circumstance because he's a dude who I followed from the very, very beginning. Like with Josh Van, like that was me with Petr Yan. Like I saw his
Right.
entire rise, and then he went on that weird skid after the illegal knee and everything with all of that, and it just threw everything into a weird tailspin. So if you follow the career, it's kind of understandable why this fight is happening based on everything leading up to it. But that all being said, he does seem to be back now. And if you saw
Yeah.
the fight with Davis and Figueiredo, I mean, he is when Petr Yan is on, man, it's something else. Like he really, for 5 rounds, I mean, this is not a 5-rounder, but like in that fight, seeing him being able to just do whatever he wanted on the feet for 5 rounds, it's something, it's next level. So for those reasons, I've got to believe that Petr Yan is able to stuff this. Marcus McGee getting a win would be pretty surprising. If it does, then that shoots him into a stratosphere that I don't think anybody's anticipating at this point, but I'll believe it when I see it. Until then, Petr Yan gets the nod for me.
100%.
All right, moving on down. Shara Bullet Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Is this a good bounce back fight for Shara after his loss?
Yeah, but I don't know if I'm sold on him finishing Marc-Andre. Marc-Andre is somebody who gets finished, yes, but I think he might go for a clinch-heavy style on this matchup. Shara does have a way to be very stalling against the cage. He doesn't necessarily make it more than just a clinch where they can punch your thighs kind of deal. But hopefully Shara comes out here and gets a finish. If he comes out here and gets a finish, guys, I will once again be on the train saying that Shara Magomedov, one of the better KO artists that we've seen in a long time.
I don't know if a finish over Marc-Andre really moves that needle for me, though, because Marc-Andre is a guy that can get finished. I mean, we've seen him finish several times in some better ways than others. Somewhere it's like, oh man, really? So yeah, I mean, Shara should be able to win this fight, I believe. I mean, Marc-Andre, he's just very spotty. Like he's one of those dudes that sometimes he'll come out here and it's like, man, that's that dude. Like, where did this guy come from? And then that guy just goes away. So I'm just like, it's hard for me to really put any kind of major stock in that because he's another dude that you just don't know what version of him's going to show up. And I would, if that is the case, you don't know what version of him's showing up, I would tend to lean towards the lesser version of him.
Right.
Against a guy like Shara who, he lost MVP. MVP is a unique case. MVP has a very unique style. Marc-Andre is a heavy, flat-footed kind of guy. He's not very very dynamic, I would say. So I think that a lot of the cards are in Shara's hand on this one. I think that it makes sense that he wins.
Yep, he'll lead the dance and probably get an effective creative strike off. Will it finish Marc-Andre? We'll see.
Yeah, that I think is an accurate assessment. I mean, he'll be able to outmaneuver him, I think, pretty easily. It's because really, it's like Shara, when you end up tying him up, that's when he ends up getting a little bit flustered and frustrated, and things don't necessarily go exactly how he wants. Like the Olasheychuk fight is a good example of that. He got his hands on him, and things didn't go exactly to plan. But Marc-Andre is going to have a little bit more of a problem with that, I would say. I think that he's probably not going to be able to get in as deep as he wants to, at least not early in the fight. If it goes into the later rounds, he might be able to get him down. But I think that the effective creative striking is probably going to be earlier in the fight. And if something cool happens, then, fine, I'll take another Shara highlight. But you know me, I've never been fully sold on him to begin with. This does seem like a little bit of a layup in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, all right, well, we'll see what ends up happening. Oh, my boy Asu. Why do they hate Asu Almabayev so much? Asu Almabayev versus Jose Ochoa. Of course, Ochoa coming off of a very impressive performance in his last fight.
Yeah, this one will be a good one. I'm not sold on who I'm taking yet. Asu Almabayev is somebody who I can say that I would like to believe he's consistent in what I can expect from him in a performance. When somebody's not a dirty fucking cheater poking him in the eyes. But Jose Ochoa was very impressive in his last performance. Now, Lonnie Kavanaugh was able to find great success in the grappling against Jose, and I think this is why this will be a good performance, because Asu might be able to get him down and hold him down. But when it gets to the feet, Jose Ochoa, he's going to have too many things for Asu Almabayev.
Yeah, that's, I think, the big question to me is is Almabayev going to come in here confident? Because I think that even before all of the damn dirty cheating that you're referencing in the Manel Kopp fight, he did not seem like he was in his element in that fight. Usually with Asu Almabayev, and why I like remembered the name early, is that he's a cardio machine and he will get his hands on you and never let go. Like he's one of those like sticks on you like glue kind of guys, and just can do that consistently throughout the entire 15 minutes. In the Manel Kopp fight, he was like unconventionally or untraditionally reserved. Like, you know, he was holding back, it seemed like, and I think that he just was genuinely spooked by Kopp. And I don't know if it's just because of who he is, the status that he had, whatever the reason was, he didn't look himself in that fight. If he can come out and be himself in this fight, go in there, get his hands on him, work the legs over, you know, like get some leg locky situations going on just to wear out the legs a little bit so that Ochoa is not able to move as effectively. Like there are a number of ways that Almabayev can approach this fight and take it effectively. I just need to see that version of him show up for me to be able to say, yeah, it's going to be that.
No, I 100% agree. This one will be a good one. Potential fight of the night right here.
Could be. I mean, and if Ochoa comes out with the same vigor that he had in that last fight, I mean, like, you know, going after it, that's what worries me, is that if Almabayev is in that sort of like, I need to have a little bit of a feel out phase early on in this fight, Ochoa goes after it from the jump. And that, you know, I always say, be first, be quick, start strong. Yeah. So if he does that, then, you know, Ochoa might be able to get the upper hand early. Almabayev needs to be first.
100%.
All right. Your buddy Nikita Krylov, one of your favorites, I'm told. Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. What do you think?
This is actually a great one because I really like Bogdan Guskov. I think he's somebody that is very decent finisher, of course. Nikita Krylov is somebody that I will never put money on again. And I think Guskov will finish him. I have no doubt taking dog money here. This is a very good one. Listen, the Guskov will be even money by the time by the time it comes. So I'm confident this is getting done.
Yeah, it is wild to me that Guskov is plus money in this fight. I mean, Krylov coming off of a devastating knockout. Now, I mean, you could say Reyes is on.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back. Exactly. You know, he's on this amazing resurgence. You know, I'm not back. I'm better. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I don't care about any of that stuff. All I know is that Bogdan Guskov is a tough dude. He'll get his hands on you too. He's another one of these guys that, like, if his striking is not doing what he wants it to do, he'll just go in there and grab you and toss you all over the place.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, I'd say Guskov, like, it's a weird person to say this about because it's like he's not necessarily a big star. So why? But it feels like they're mishandling Guskov. Like, I feel like he could be a bigger star. Like, I mean, he's not a personality necessarily or whatever, but like, I think that there's more to him than the matchups that we've been getting, because his last fight was that rando dude that was.
He's fighting on this card, by the way.
Yes, he is. Yeah, Alakina is coming back for more. What a Chad for round two. But yeah, I mean, that was a short notice. Yeah, obviously a unique situation, but like his original opponent, I don't think was like even somebody who was like needle moving for him. So I'm just like, Bogdan Guskov is not bad. Like, give this guy like appropriate matchups, especially light heavyweight. He could make a better name for himself. Maybe a win over Krylov does that, moves him up a little bit more, but like, I think that there's more to him than what we're getting out of him currently.
Well, they were waiting for Anthony Smith to retire, and now he can take the place as Anthony Smith. So
there's only room for one goblin-faced bald guy.
Yep, I agree. So I think he's going to go ahead and win by vicious KO, and then we're going to go ahead and see him in the top of the division finally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If not by KO, then by Smotherfest. I think he just gets him down, you know, works him over on the ground, just grapple heavy, top heavy, you know, toss here, toss there kind of thing.
100%.
All right. Featured prelim is Bryce Mitchell versus Said Nurmagomedov. Of course, Bryce at bantamweight. How is this going to go?
Said's going to win. I don't know if anybody knows this, and Bryce Mitchell maybe doesn't, but Said Nurmagomedov has like 2 wins by ninja choke in the UFC. So this was a great performance. This was a great person to choose to have a performance against. Said Nurmagomedov is somebody that I've been very high on. Not as active as I wish he was, because I never see him fight. But I remember when I first started watching, I said, holy shit, a Nurmagomedov that doesn't grapple, and he's an elite striker and can sub people when they shoot. Awesome. Now, he did lose to Vinicius Oliveira, and we've seen what he's turning out to be. So I think Saeed gets this one done. I think this and Gushkov is a great parlay.
So this is a tough one for me. Bryce Mitchell is in a unique situation right now because he is coming off of losses. I want to say, right? He's on a bit of a losing streak at this point. He's moving down a weight. This is whenever you're changing weight to try to shake up a losing streak, that is always a signal to me that you're in a bit of a make or break, maybe not even make or break, but more of like a crossroads. I think that's a better way to put it. Like, I would think that Bryce, especially after the way that it went down with John Silva, all of the lead up to that fight, into the fight, the circumstances of the fight, being submitted in that fight, like everything that you know about where we are now with Bryce, all outside of the cage stuff aside, that doesn't matter here. What the actual circumstances being as they are, like this to me would feel like a bit of a make or break, and that Bryce is at a crossroads. So I want to believe that all of those things considered, Bryce has the wherewithal to get this win here, that he's going to be able to navigate the attacks of Nurmagomedov effectively enough to not let himself get into the traps, maybe spring a few of his own. I want to say that. But what is actually going to happen, that's a different story. And I don't know if this weight change is going to do for Bryce what he wants it to do.
I don't think so either, but I'm taking Saeed Nurmagomedov, and I think this is a good parlay piece, especially if you can get him as a dog, but it's not going to be long.
Well, I'm going to tentatively hang my hat with Bryce here, thinking that this is like I said, a crossroads moment for him. Like, because if he does win this fight, there is potentially a new future ahead of him at bantamweight, and that could be what he's looking to establish. And this would be the way that you start that. If he loses this, now he's got losses in 2 weight classes. There's really nowhere else for him to go. At that point, then I think that the Bryce Mitchell flame does kind of fizzle out. But I'll ride with him for one last shot here.
All right, tip your fishing hat to him, and we'll get after it.
Exactly, me, Bryce, and some other person on a fishing boat, perhaps. All right. Moving on down the line here, Muslim Salikov versus Carlos Leal. Now, I love this fight. I know that a lot of people probably don't care for it as much as I do, but Muslim Salikov being this old dude who just kicks people in the head and effectively knocks them out with it versus Carlos Leal, who is
a roid freak.
Big, kind of, well, allegedly. We don't know that for sure, but it's suspected to be one anyway. A guy who had a lot of acne on his back, just unceremoniously. But either which way, you've got these 2 dudes who are just sort of big, stocky guys, one being an old guy, one not being an old guy. This can go either way. I think this is a very fun fight, honestly.
Yeah, Carlos Leal came in on short notice against Rinat Fakhretdinov and put on a great performance that a lot of people say he would have won, or should have won. This one, there was a fight after that he had too, but I can't remember who it was against. This one is actually a very good this is a very good fight for Carlos Leal. I think he should come in and finish Muslim Salikov and put on a good performance. He is young. He is a killer. Muslim Salikov just got knocked out, I believe, in his last performance.
Was it not? I thought didn't he get the kick knockout? I thought that was his last one.
There was a fight. No, you're right. No, Song Kanan, he did get that one. Damn, I thought he was coming off a loss. Who's the old bald guy I saw got fucking flatlined? Anyway, Carlos Leal, get this one done for the boys back home. He's 41 years old. Figure it out. If he spins, just blitz him and punch him in the head. Like, it's not rocket science.
Very much so. I mean, Leal did show that he's a durable guy. I mean, the Fakhretdinov fight was very, very close. A lot of people thought he won that fight. And on short notice, that should tell you something there. Winning his next fight thereafter, Leal is definitely a skilled enough guy to be able to handle Muslim Salikov. Just for the love of God, you make sure that your guard is high when he's going for those high kicks. If you see him even trying to set up a spin kick, just fucking duck, man.
It's not even duck. Yeah. Like, it's duck or go forward. If you stay and lean back, he's literally going to kick you in the head. Like, you literally just got to be in or out and not out where he can kick you. So
yeah, I think Leal gets his hands on him. This could be a very similar assessment to what I said about Guskov, where it's like, just don't give him the range. Just close the distance, get your hands on him. Like,
true.
You're gonna be able to out muscle this guy. I would suspect
100%.
So yeah, I think Leal taking this one makes a lot of sense. All right, Davy Grant versus Damon Blackshear. Another fight that I really like. Damon Blackshear has been very spotty. You know, he's kind of a two-way guy. You know, getting a little bit of the checkerboard going, which sucks because I think he's very skilled.
Mhm.
But Davy Grant also kind of spotty. It would feel like. I mean, neither of these guys are like surging as far as like consistent win streaks go. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I think I'm just gonna take Damon Blackshear. I think Davy Grant sure is a decent guy, but Damon Blackshear has shown me the skill set is something to believe in. He's more just coming off like a Kevin Holland where he can just have an off day, and it may be the performance that you need where he doesn't show out. But in this one, I think it'll be the one you don't expect because you're like, oh, he just shit the bed, but then he comes out here and smokes Davy Grant in 15, seconds or whatever.
Yeah, that could certainly be the case here. Like Davy Grant is also one of those guys that like pulls out victories that you don't expect. So I think that's why I'm kind of like slightly hesitant. Like I do think that there's probably something there. He might be able to touch him up a little bit. We did see Damon Blackshear get touched up a little bit in the Cody Gibson fight.
Yeah.
That was kind of unexpected. That was how that one started at least. So I mean, there is potential for Davy Grant to land some shots that affect Blackshear early in the fight, but as soon as it goes to the ground, if it does, I mean, Damon Blackshear on the ground, that's really not something that you want. So I want to believe that Blackshear is able to weather a couple of shots just to, get in there, get his hands on him. Again, another guy that if he attacks the legs, it's going to be a problem. High crotch to the takedown kind of situation works as well. Like there's a lot of entryways that Damon Blackshear has. He just has to find the one that's open for him and get it.
Yeah, 100%. This one should be easy in my opinion. Shout out to Mom Blackshear. Get this one done for us, please.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, again, I don't want to count Grant out because I have counted him out in the past, but I do think that Damon Blackshear does it.
100%. And shout out to Mank for stopping by. I just wanted to give you a little shout out.
Hey, yeah, shout out to the Mank for sure. All right, Amanda Hebos versus Tabitha Ricci. Two ladies who have been less than stellar, I would say. Tabitha Ricci, I think she got shot up a little bit too far. Like she was ended up fighting competition that was a little outside of her scope. Amanda Hebos, on the other side, I thought had a lot more potential than what she lived up to. So this is I think a pretty even fight, all things considered, for those reasons. What do you think actually happened?
I think Vegas is right about this one. Amanda Ribas is somebody that has let me down, but once again, I've seen decent performances out of her where I'm like, there's something there. She just is not capable when it comes to certain aspects of, what's her name? Mackenzie Dern got her straight to the mat and subbed her, after a really good performance in the first round from Ribas. So I think she should be able to replicate and stuff the takedowns because Ricci is probably not somebody that'll just aggressively shoot for those and get her down eventually. And then I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and take Ribas. I think Vegas got it.
Yeah, I would say that, this is another example of if you go skill set for skill set, Hebus is the more skilled fighter out of the two.
Yeah.
Tabitha Ricci is also low output based on what I recall. Like she's kind of one of those fighters that like almost like Pitbull in a way, like, like kind of reacts a little bit more than initiates.
Yeah.
And I think that Hebus is going to have a lot of real estate to work with in this fight. Like she's pretty good on the ground. Yes. But she's not terrible in striking either. Like she can get some good kicks up. Amanda Hebus does land kicks pretty nicely. She goes for the head with her kicks often and can get them. So, I think that Hebus is a good pick in this one. Could Tabitha Ricci pull off of the upset? Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not out of the question, but gut Ribas definitely
100%.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And she is my manic pixie dream girl. She has such an amazing, bubbly personality outside of the cage. It's infectious, I would say.
Good deal.
I'll leave that one there. Ibo Aslan versus Billy Elakina. The aforementioned Billy Elakina coming back for round two. This guy doesn't know when to quit, I suppose, going up against Ibo Aslan, who is a powerful striker. What are you thinking here?
I think it is dangerous to go up against Ibo. I think Ibo is clearly showing that he gives a fuck about grappling. He did not take time off after he lost to the first submission that Cutelaba had in the UFC was to Ibo Aslan, and he clearly did not take the time off to learn more grappling and more defensive techniques for it. Billy Elakana got Gushkov on his back for the entirety of the first round, almost finished him too. I think the finish is very live in this matchup. I think inside the distance is just the safest way to go. No way this goes to the decision.
I would agree entirely. I mean, I think that Ibo Aslan, if this stays on the feet for anywhere past what Elikana wants it to, like if he starts trying to go for takedowns and can't get them, it's going to be really, really bad for him.
Yeah.
Like that's really not going to be working. If he does get the takedown, it could end up being a long, drawn out grapple fest, perhaps. But I mean, I think that Aslan, like you said, if he's getting submitted by Kutalaba, Alicana's got a shot there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think finish does make sense in this fight. I would tend to believe that since this is a 3-rounder, Aslan's going to have the opportunity to start this thing off standing for each of those rounds, land a couple of good shots early in the round. Elikana is not going to have an answer for that. I think that to pick a winner, I would say that Ibo Aslan's going to take this. Finish is probably pretty safe, but yeah, Aslan in my mind is the better choice.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm with it.
All right. Mohamed Yahya versus Stephen Wynn. Stephen Wynn is one of those dudes that kind of under the radar, I would say. Like I think he was a guy that he got like passed over on the Contender Series, I want to say, and then finally made his way in, lost, and finally got a win, I want to say.
He has not won in the organization yet.
Oh, he's not one in the organization. Okay, I think I'm confusing him with a different guy. Oh, I'm confusing him with that Vietnamese guy. Yeah, no, okay. If that is the case, then you tell me. What do you think?
I could care less. It's just a filler fight to start the card. Steven, go get this win for us, dude.
Do it for America, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with Stephen Wynn as well. I think that I remember Yaya has some decent wrestling, so if Wynn can't hang on the ground, then maybe there's a problem there for him. But yeah, like I said, I'll also just go with Wynn off of American pride.
100%.
And a much more interesting fight to start this thing off is Martin Buday versus Marcus Buchetta here. This is, of course, the grappling phenom out of one championship, making his debut in the UFC at heavyweight against a dude who is not known for grappling.
Yeah, but he is known for striking, and we have seen him strike for 3 rounds and go to the decision. So it's somebody who you're going to have to put away if you want to beat him, especially at this weight class as a grappler. I think this is a good matchup for him. It might be listen, I know this is crazy to say, might be a little bit too high of a shot here. Martin Buday is decent. He's certainly not the worst that we've seen. But this Buchetta dude, if he's the grappling phenom that we are expecting, he should come out here and finish this fight.
Grappling at heavyweight is the new meta. And Buchetta is going to come in here and continue this new wave of grappling that we're seeing. I'm going to be very happy when he does that. And we're finally going to get a heavyweight division that's actually worth a damn. So all of my chips are going on this Buchetta guy. I have been the person time and time again. I'm going against my own logic and better judgment here because you have heard me say on this show, I am never going for guys outside of the organization coming in. Again, this is going to be yet another exception to this because the dynamics at heavyweight are as they are. Okay. Buday, I don't think that he is going to have the answers. Now, like he's a tougher dude because like he's going up against guys who are just holding him against the cage. You know what I mean? He'll go to decision because of that. But if he's able to get him to the ground, if Buchetta can get him to the ground, pull a Walter Walker for me, buddy. Show me that is what's going on.
He does have a heel hook victory, by the way.
There you go. So I think that this new wave of grappling at heavyweight is going to change what we conventionally think about the heavyweight division in the UFC. And Buchetta is going to be one of the people that is on that next wave up. So after this victory, he gets a win here, gets his picture on ESPN, and we start taking him seriously in the heavyweight division.
100% agree. I would love to see a submission finish on the first fight of the night right here.
Yeah, same. And if he doesn't do that, then it's right back to me saying that I will never go for a guy coming in from outside the organization again. I should probably be sticking to my guns on that one, even with this, but heavyweight is a different set of circumstances. I think it's unique. It's not like, we've got other divisions here where like the skill sets are more well-rounded. You know what you're getting with the traditional heavyweight in the UFC. Martin Buday is about as traditional a heavyweight as I can imagine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this will be a good one to start the card. I'm very excited for it.
All right. Well, we will see what happens in all of these fights this weekend. Of course, yet again, just want to make sure everybody is aware this is an early card, so this starts at noon, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will be watching on the watch along, probably solo. I'll see if I can get the Vitz King for this one, perhaps because of the time difference, but that will be at youtube.com/@YamaShow. And Chase, I know that you can tell them where they can find you.
They will always find me on Saturday whenever the UFC is streaming events. We will be watching on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. Of course, you will find me on Twitter, x.com/@CreativePart. Sometimes I'll be having fun there. And if you guys were unaware, this week we are going to attempt to finish watching the KO movie on Netflix, and we want to go ahead and review that for you guys. Possibly Friday. Don't mark that on your calendars yet, but we will let you know. We'll let you know when that's going to happen. So
absolutely, yes, we have both started our watchings of the KO movie. We're taking our notes. We're going to get this review out as soon as possible. I'm glad that you said that, speaking it into reality, speaking it into existence. So I appreciate that. So yeah, keep your eye on Twitter and Instagram and in the Discord. We'll keep you updated on that and get that stream out to you as soon as we can. I am at Yama Show on YouTube, of course, but also on Twitter and Instagram, and on Facebook at Yama Show 1. If you wanted to,
nice.
Somebody please follow on Facebook just to make it worthwhile, all the crap that I had to go through with that and still never figured out. But any which way, find me on all of those places. Give a follow over there as well. Make sure that you're subscribed here. Make sure you're subscribed to Chase. And have a great rest of your week, everybody. We will catch up with you soon. And as always, fight on.